Chiclets fans, what's up? Biz here. If you're looking to rock some fresh new merchandise, head over to barstoolsports.com/chiclets. We got Pink Whitney stuff, we got golf gear, we got shot glasses, anything you can find on top of these bucket hats, head on over.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 388 of Spittin Chiclets, presented by Pink Whitney from our friends at New Amsterdam Vodka here in the Barstool Sports podcast family. What is up, everyone? The second round is underway. Ratings are through the roof, thanks to our boy Biz. And we had yet another surprise for him of a coach, but let's say hi to the boys first before we dive into the hockey. Mikey Granelli loving the t-shirt, Battle of Alberta.
Yeah, between the Battle of Alberta and Biz becoming the most hated man in New York City, I think it's safe to say the playoffs are in full swing.
Ooh, Biz Nasty, Paul Biz Nasty Bissonette down in Atlanta. Is that true? Are you the most hated man on Manhattan right now?
I'm pretty sure I would get shanked if I went to New York City right now. People think it's like
shit.
People think it's like a fake feud. I was pretty bullish on the Rangers coming into the season, and then on the TNT broadcast, we had them later in the season, and I talked about how they had a lot of defensive liabilities and how they really opened themselves up, and I thought that would come back to nip them in the ass come playoff time. Well, the most sensitive fan base online ended up coming after me for those simple comments. So, hey, man, if you want to fucking come at me, I'll fucking come at you. I don't give a flying fuck. So it's game on. Fuck you guys. I'm glad you lost game one. Own goal to win it in overtime. And sure as shit, it's a former Pittsburgh Penguin, Ian Cole. So suck on that, Rangers fans. We'll dive more into it. Other than that, you said the TNT broadcast, the ratings came out. Great job by the whole fucking crew. Wayno, Liam, Anson, Talkit, even all the people behind the scenes that make our job so easy. It's been awesome. It's been so fun to cover. They let us be ourselves. They don't talk to us about how we should be on air. They just let us be, and it's been a great success. So thank you to also the Spittin Chiclets fans who also watch in order to boost those ratings, because it's been a hell of a time. And obviously the fact that the first round had 5 Game 7s, 2 of which got insane numbers. I want to say the New York game got 2.3 or 2.4 million viewers, which is the most for a first round matchup in, I want to say, the last decade, maybe even the last 25 years. So it's been unbelievable. We've seen some awesome games, and we're on to round 2, and I'm sure we're going to dive into it. But going back to New York City, RA, you were just there for quite a few days.
Actually, I'm still here. I ended up booking it for a few nights. I just said, screw it, get a little, not vacation, just get out of the house for a few days. But yeah, we had the trivia stuff. Obviously, we can't talk about that yet. What else did I do? Oh, I went to that John's off Bleecker Street, the pizza place that Dave had as his number 1 all time. I don't know if it's number 2 right now. So me, Barstool, Carl, Clem, Chris Castellani, and Bobby Regan went out there once with the other night. It was pretty good pizza, but it wasn't like, oh my God, I gotta have this every day. It wasn't like I was having an orgasm over it. It was a nice piece of pizza, but it was good. It wasn't like blow me out.
All right, if you could pick like one meal that you've had in your life that you would have an orgasm over, what would it be? Like, let's say your last meal if you were in prison and you were going to the electric chair.
I mean, I've said it for years. One Santapio's cheese pizza, rack of lamb. That's my death row.
Okay.
That's my death row meal. And then after that, we went to this bar, McSorley's. You ever been there? Either of you two? It's the oldest. I guess it's the oldest bar in New York City. It's an old Irish bar. There's no liquor. There's no wine. It's like, you want light or dark? They have just 2 kinds of beer. They serve them in 10-ounce mugs. And the waiters carry like 24 mugs at a time. There's no tray. The guy told me the record is 28 by one guy. 28 mugs one guy carries. There's no jukebox, no music, no TVs. It's just like an Irish pub. Everyone talks. It was actually nice to just have conversations in the bar.
Sounds like the worst bar I've ever heard of.
No.
I didn't want to say it. I like a little variety. I mean, how's the beer?
No music, no TV, no liquor, no wine,
no chicks.
What the fuck?
Yeah, I mean,
no
it's
chicks.
Irish bar, man. You go in, drink some beer, and hang
Yeah,
out.
I've been to Irish bars.
Sounds like my
music
basement.
pumping. There's fucking waitresses. There's a vodka in the mix. Place sounds like a dump.
Nah, place is it's legendary down here. So a kid come up to me with a brogue. He originally from Ireland. He lives in Queens now. He's a Chiclets fan. He wasn't even into hockey. He found us. Now he's a hockey fan, which I always say is
I love that.
the ultimate compliment for us.
Yeah.
Best fun.
Yeah.
So I went over and sat down with him and his dad. It was his dad and a couple buddies that were visiting. They were leaving in the morning. And I started singing songs with them. They were singing No Name Never. We had like the whole place rocking. So like we took a few pictures. I'm like, hey, let me see your Instagram. I want to copy the picture. The kid pulls this thing out. I was like, the last name's McGuire, like Maguire. I was like, dude, I'm 25% McGuire. My grandmother's maiden name was McGuire. So then they start calling me like cousin and shit. We were having like a bunch of laughs. So it was pretty good shit. The McGuire boys. Who was the other boy? McAdoo and Paulie. They were hilarious.
I noticed you got to spend a little time with Will Compton. He was in town.
Yeah, he's a character. I saw him right before my trivia game the other day. Our trivia game the other day. I had a few beers with him at that place. He was at McSorley's too. So we had a pretty good crew.
And,
it was like All-Star week here this week.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know who Will Compton is, so Bussin' with the Boys started a very similar podcast to us. A couple former, or actually one currently plays for the Tennessee Titans.
He makes like 20 million a year too.
Yeah. He's basically the you of the podcast. I'm the Will Compton of this podcast, where he was kind of in and out of the lineup type guy. I think he did a lot of special teams, and he's pretty self-deprecating about his time in the league. But I think
he's still trying to play.
Yeah. I think he's done 9 years in the NFL, so he's in and out. But they do a great podcast called Bussin' with the Boys, and they get some great guests. So they're a part of the underneath the Barstool umbrella. So if you guys are looking for other sports podcasts, they get great guests. So check them out as well. But what did you get into the last couple of days? What I noticed that you went golfing.
Yeah, I haven't done much, dude. I've just been watching hockey, and then I sleep in as much as I can. And then I take a nap, and then I stay up all night watching hockey. It's a disgrace right now, but I wouldn't do anything else if I had the choice. It's unbelievable what's been going on. Tonight, I'm just furious. Obviously, my team just lost 9-6 after being down 5-1 and 6-2. I would have rather lost 37-0. Had Mike Smith in and out of the game 5 times and ended up with like Larry from Leduc playing fucking goalie as an e-bug to give up the 31st, 32nd, 33rd, 34th, 5th, 6th, and 7th.
Hey, you think you're going to mix in a haircut soon or no?
So that's another thing. My wife got invited to a wedding, so it's Sunday, so I can't go because I got to watch all the games. Then we work Sunday night, so I got to go Saturday to like the night before the wedding in Newport. I didn't even know about this. I don't have a haircut. I have a legit afro. I wouldn't even mind if the top was this long, but the sides is just pathetic. I feel like a homeless guy. I feel like I should live in this bar with no music and no fucking drinks that RA was at. But I still think I'll somewhat be able to pull it off if I get a ton of product going in this coif. What else? Yeah, I played golf, back to shoot. I shot like 76 2 days in a row. I had that one even round. My game's shit. Pretty bummed out about the golf game right now. But I also am like, if you know golf, you're always so excited for the next round, even when you're not playing your best. So I still feel like I'm right around the corner from shooting under par. Got a big tournament with Foles, Fairway Foles coming up. We have the qualifier on Saturday, so I'm fired up for that. What's today? Thursday? Wednesday. Jesus Christ. I don't even know what days is going, what day it is. I got no clue. What else have I been up to?
Well, hey, I just want to chime in here. So in regards to the haircut. So I thought,
oh, Jesus, address this.
Well, okay. So I thought I made it clear that I can't be growing out my hair like a buffoon on national television.
But that's just, your hair was not going to be grown out like a buffoon. It wasn't even going to be remotely close to when you thought it was bad early in the year. You just wanted a fresh fade, and you went about it the way that you wanted to do it and got it done. Whereas if you had not got a cut, it would not have looked bad.
Definitely agree with Whit here. I think you getting the haircut was a crazy move. It would have been an extra week.
Okay.
An extra 9 days. Your hair wouldn't.
You just wanted to look a certain way.
Yeah, guys. I wanted to look good on the broadcast because sometimes it's hard to maintain. And the lady who does my makeup, like, she has to help me out with it, and I just want to be as low maintenance as possible. Now, will you be okay if it looks like it did when I did the commercial for McDonald's when I was Peter Mansbiz? Would you be okay if it looks identical to that? Because my hair grows super fast. So by the time the beginning of the third round starts, if Edmonton ends up advancing past Calgary, it will look exactly like it did on the commercial.
Will it?
Yes.
Because right now you have no hair on the side of your head.
Yes, but it in about I would say in about 2 weeks, it'll be at least, I would say, 1/3 of an inch. and then the top will be completely shaved off. So you will clearly see that there's hair on the side of my head and I have no hair on the top. Like, what more look are you trying to achieve? Maybe not as egregious. Is that the word I'm looking for? Maybe not as egregious as Jesus Christ. I just blacked out. What the fuck
I think that's the word.
That's the word.
Oh,
that's the
it,
word.
yeah.
Hey, that's a word.
Okay. I think it would look like identical to RA. So on top of that, I also have the Avery jersey coming in, the Rangers one. I will have that live on the broadcast as soon as it gets here. I told them about it. So I think I'm going to do one segment with it. And I'll probably just say my apologies to New York Rangers fans, get that punishment over with because they got lucky and beat the Pittsburgh Penguins. I'm not going to be a sourpuss. I'm going to fulfill my bet. But as I mentioned, I believe that the Carolina Hurricanes are going to roll them, and I'm going to be so happy that they're bounced in the second round. All right. Is there anything else we need to talk about before we dive into these games in the second round?
Yeah, because I only had one other little thing I wrote down here. Me, PFT comment, Wonton Don and Billy Football. We went down to one of those Russian, Turkish bath spa house things. Somewhere on the Lower East Side. Pretty cool. They got like 4 or 5 different kinds of saunas, steam baths. One of them was like 180 degrees, but right when
I've always wanted to go to that, RA. I've actually been looking into that lately, so that's good to know that you went there.
Up people too going together.
Yeah, that is a weird crowd. What else was going on in there? I will say, boys, I've been talking to my buddy Cal, lives in Victoria. He's my realtor. He says that the contrast between, he has one of those infrared saunas and then he has a cold tub as well. He has outdoor shower.
That's what I'm putting in my basement, both of those.
Yeah. So it's just like really good for the mental health side of things and really good for recovery. And there's a lot of benefits to it. So anybody out there who doesn't do it, I'd recommend it. RA, I would imagine you had a great experience. Now, do you do the cold tub as well?
No, we were walking in. The dude was like, "You want the massage?" I was like, "Let me know." And I was like, "Oh man, I haven't had one in a long time." He's like, "My name's Sasha." He was like a 60-year-old Ruski. I was like, "You know what? I will." I was like, "I'll be there in like 10 minutes." It was like $110 for the hour. Dude, this guy put a beating on me. I'd never got a massage.
Jesus Christ, clip this, Cornelli.
No. Hey, no, all right, keep going, and I'm gonna fire back at what Witt's talking about after you're done.
Dude, like I've gotten, you go on the road with your wife, you go to hotels, you get your standard Swedish massage. Once in a while, you might get the athlete one when they get a little tougher. This guy, it must be like a Russian technique or something. He was like, he goes, oh, very tight here. He goes, I make it like soft like pizza when you're done. And like, he's like, oh, very tight here. I was like, yeah, but I've been stressed out. Everything he touched, he was like, oh, very tight. So he's like, I'll get your neck. He goes, I'll make neck nice and soft. I swear to God, I think he walked on my back because I could feel him like climbing on the thing I was laying on. Like I don't know if he
wouldn't
was, like,
you know if his feet were on your back?
I couldn't see from there. It was either his knees or his feet. I could feel the full weight. And he was like, take deep breath. And it was like kind of hurting, but it was like afterwards I felt like a jellyfish.
How much?
Like,
how much would you pay to get surveillance of this experience?
A lot of money. I would actually just want to hear the beginning when he's like, put a beating on me, Sasha.
I'm going to make your cock like a pizza roll. Oh,
Jesus
yes.
Christ.
Oh, yes. I'm going to give you a rusty
Treat me like a
trombone.
dirty little Russian, Sasha. You
okay.
fucking manly man.
When I was in Atlanta for that month before the playoff experience, because I ended up staying here. I want to say it was about probably like 2.5 months ago. I stayed here for a month period, and my back ended up getting locked up, and I had to go get a massage, and the only person available was a guy. Now, I ended up telling some people at TNT, and some of the boys were ripping on me because they were like, hey, like I just don't really want to get a guy a massage. Now, are you the same way, Whit? Would you allow a guy to massage you? Not
Dude,
like
I would
not in the locker
I would look like something about Mary's best friend Tucker before I had a fucking guy massaging me.
Name's Norm. Live with my parents up in Pompano.
Hey, man, name's Norm.
And it's
delivery guy.
It's all preference, right? Like some guys get uncomfortable when another man is like rubbing their hams.
What's weird is though in the NHL, obviously, like Sevy in Edmonton and I'm trying to blank. Like you get a massage from the guys in the NHL.
Yeah, but
then I don't know if like I go to a spa and some dude Sasha from St. Petersburg is looking to massage my cornhole. I'm like, I'm all set with the cold tub, hot tub.
I was like, I hope this guy doesn't listen to Spittin Chiclets. Otherwise, it's gonna be like Eastern Promises. He's gonna fucking throw me around the spa in here.
Oh,
he shows up to your hotel room.
Your name drops in city locations are fucking 10 out of 10.
I just can't believe. Yeah, I mean, All right, though. Do you feel way better?
Oh my! Like walked out of it. It's like a buzz. It's almost like being high in a different way. I felt fantastic because I had knots all over the place.
Are
I
you
did
guys
feel
pen
great.
pals now?
Me and Sasha are going to talk. He's going to loosen my neck, make it
Like-
pizza.
Like
That's what we
pizza
call it.
roll.
Pizza roll.
Naked
But
pen pals.
Well, hey, all right.
Hey, you know what else is weird about doing these late shows? So right now it's 1:00
Yeah.
Eastern. The other night we did a late show. I did the same thing. I took a 45-minute nap. I had a Red Bull at like 7, and I was exhausted, zero energy. And then tonight, maybe it's because that 9-6 game I just watched, but now
Yeah.
I feel like perfect. It's like it's very odd to do the same thing and feel different based on the day. Do you know what I'm saying?
Oh, buddy, it's
Like, why don't you feel the same if I did the exact same thing?
Well, yeah, my internal clock's all fucked up because we got the late games going. I'm chugging Red Bulls on set just to stay awake during some of these fucking games. That Florida Tampa game was so boring for the first 2 periods. I legit had to crush a Red Bull on TV. I figured, should we just dive right into this Calgary versus Edmonton game
Yes.
right now?
yes.
Like that, I don't really have much of a breakdown other than the fact that that was a straight up beer league hockey game. That was a beer league hockey game. What did you think of it, Whit?
Edmonton is fucking brutal sometimes, dude. Like first of all, it's so unfair as a fan of Edmonton and like obviously not one of my ear pierced and basically a fan of hockey and like having great games in the Battle of Alberta, 30 years it's been or whatever, that Draisaitl got hurt. That sucks. Like he's obviously hurt out there. I actually commend the hell out of him for be playing. Dude, when you sprain your ankle, I couldn't even skate the rest of my life after I sprained my ankle once. This guy's playing like 4 days after it happened. He's still producing points. On his goal, you could tell his straightaway speed's great, but stopping and starting and turns, you just have nothing there. And mentally, you can tell that it's just so hard for him to try to make moves when you know you physically can't do it. So what a ballsy performance to even be in the lineup.
Yeah.
But to not have him full bore is really tough. Like we were complete underdogs with him healthy, let alone now. But taking all that aside and taking away the genius of Connor McDavid and what we're witnessing, he's now at 18 points through his first 8 playoff games, which is the 4th most all time behind Gretzky, and Lemieux. So you're looking, like we've talked about, at one of the greatest, if not the greatest hockey player to ever live, just trying to carry his team to win games. Having all that said and done, that start they had tonight was fucking embarrassing.
Brutal.
It was pathetic on every single level. Like, I'm not even just blaming Mike Smith. The first goal, let me just remind myself. Yeah, Lindholm. Bouchard, gets caught up ice. I don't know what the hell he's doing. He somehow gets back. It was like a 2-on-1 out of nowhere. He fires it over to Lindholm. And then Bouchard and I think Nurse both go to him, and he scores. Probably should have been stopped. 1-0, 10 seconds in. Then what happens? They go back in their own zone. Nuge loses it behind his own net. It's like, all right, guys, we just gave up a quick one. Let's figure it out here. No more turnovers, especially in our own zone and at the offensive blue line. Nuge turns it over behind the net, and then Cody Cece's standing in front of the net. Dude, Biz, what do they teach you when you're 7 years old? If there's a guy behind the net with the puck, he cannot score from there. Yes, nowadays with the lacrosse goal, I guess you can. Cover the guy in front.
Yeah.
Do not jump to the guy below the goal line and
He's a
give him a free
non-threat.
passing lane. What does he do? He jumps the guy and a beauty pass by Backlund, and it's 2-0. It's 40 seconds into the fucking game. Ryder was still awake, and the game started at 9:30. I put the kid to bed usually then. It's 2-0. So that happens, and you're like, all right, we need the next one. And they give up a third on another fucking turnover in their own zone by Evander Kane. So yeah, they came back and made it this amazing game. But it's it doesn't even matter. Half of it's McDavid's genius. And then all the goals that they're giving up are either terrible. And then, by the way, to then come back and make it 6-6. I know I'm skipping over fucking 18 different goals. They come back to make it 6-6. Koskinen can't mix in one fucking save there. He can't mix in the breakaway save on Kachuk. It beat him 5-hole. It's just.
Yeah, some people confused about that one, thought it was offside, but it was his own guy's skated hit, ended up coming in.
Yep.
There were a few confusing calls. Some people were a little confused about Lucic hitting McDavid. They said the whistle had gone.
That shouldn't have been a penalty on
it
Ole
it shouldn't have been a hit or a penalty. He was already committed to the hit, and then the whistle went. Mind you, maybe inside the building it's a different story because the ESPN feed is off a little bit with the timing. I feel like it's a little bit, is it not a little bit ahead of when the play's happening?
So people in Canada, everyone's tweeting. I was tweeting about ESPN being so frustrating because our boy John Buccigross, he's doing a good job. It's not his fault, but he's yelling scores, and they're not even fucking over the blue line. It's like they're literally telling us it's a goal before the shot goes down. What the fuck is ESPN doing? You've had all year to figure it out. It's not the play-by-play guy. He's just doing it. It's the audio. So people are writing me, why are you watching ESPN? I'm in America, you clowns. I got no other options here.
And then the other one that people were a little bit confused about, there was a coincidental minor, and I'm going to hand this one over to either G or RA, that Elliot Friedman had to explain what had happened on the fact that Tkachuk was allowed to come out of the box before Kane because of a certain ruling. I guess Bieksa, who it had happened to during his playing days, he explained it to Elliot Friedman, who then tweeted out how it was able to happen because Tkachuk ended up being on the ice when Kane was still in the box, and that's when he scored the breakaway goal. So there were some Edmonton fans that were furious, being like, how the fuck is this guy already out of the box? And
I
Kane's
was one of them.
Okay, well, read it off there, G.
Explanation on Tkachuk leaving penalty box before Kylington. Flames can declare when penalties are assessed who will leave the box first. They chose Tkachuk.
Obviously.
Okay. Well, there you go. So
what people are confused about is if I think is he Shillington, Biz?
Shillington.
So when he gets the penalty and then Kane and Tkachuk get the matching minors, I didn't know. I don't know when this rule changed. I don't know if it's always been like this. I had no idea. But you would think who would come out of the box is the man who didn't get the matching minors. Those two would stay in. But you have the ability, when that's the case, to choose someone to get out, which I completely disagree with. If Tkachuk got the penalty with Kane for John back and forth, where I believe Tkachuk was calling him bankrupt and offering him money.
Yeah, maybe Kane actually wanted him out of the box at that point. He just said, yeah, just let him go.
Yeah, they were back and forth.
I've heard enough here because I'm sure you guys can read lips at home, and you can, if you're on social media, I'm sure you've seen all the chirps being slinged Kane's way about his bankruptcy by Matthew Tkachuk. Now, it's hard for me to really criticize anybody defensively because it was such a shit show that there was breakdowns everywhere. To me, especially early on when it got to be 5-2 or 5-1 and then 6-2, Calgary spent the entire time basically in Edmonton zone just snapping it around.
It could have been 12-0 at one point.
Right. And it was an absolute shit show. Now, my only question mark was Markstrom. After he let in that Hyman goal, which was outside the dot when it was a one-on-one between him and Stone, he shot it, and he was already on his knees. The thing probably would have hit the fucking middle of the net. It hits his chest and like rolls in, and I'm like, okay, here, maybe you got to switch the goalie up because he wasn't getting any shots. And at that point, he'd already now let in a couple softies where it's like, I don't know, maybe his head's just not into it. It ends up going into the second intermission 6-5. They get that goal in the last minute, and I'm like, holy fuck. I put out a state of address on social media because I'm like, I think they need to change goalies. Obviously, Sutter didn't. They get out there. First 90 seconds of the third period, they end up fucking tying the game. I thought 100% if you had a gun to my head, if you said who was going to win this game, I would have said the Edmonton Oilers. But thankfully, the offense kept rolling for the Calgary Flames. They ended up potting two more and escaped what could have been an absolute colossal meltdown as a gift given to them in game one because Edmonton was dog shit. As good as Smith's been, he wasn't strong off the top. Do I want to put the blame on him? No, because the amount of defensive breakdowns in that game are probably going to give Daryl Sutter an aneurysm on both sides of the puck because we know how defensive minded he is. So I expect the next game to be a lot more physical and also a lot tighter. I don't expect any more gong show games like that. Now, do you?
I have such little confidence right now. And by the way, the winning goal, so it's 6-6, they tied up. 1 minute later, Rasmus Anderson comes down from the point. Nobody even near him, dude. Like, you just tied the game up. Toffoli puts the puck on net. It goes to the defenseman. It somehow stays in the zone. He wraps it around, back to Mangiapane. Anderson is a defenseman inside the circle, right at the dot, with not a person near him. And he goes like off of Koskinen's glove. It's like you just had this amazing comeback on the road, and that's what happens. You give up a goal a minute later. That was the most disgusting part of the whole game, and there were a lot of them. And the comeback was great, but I mean, yeah, Markstrom really stunk. So I'm panicked because, first off, Calgary's a better team. Calgary is a deeper team. They're more physical. The only chance we have to stay out of all scrums. We can't try to like out physical them. They have so many big bodies, like Zadorev, Gabranson on D. Then they got Luch running around. We got to try to have a great power play if we're getting power play opportunities. But we're getting that game would have been so shocking the way it started and so important for any chance of winning the series. Now it's like you got to get game 2. I feel, and there's fucking.
I think
what is it? Swimming up creek. What's the saying? RA?
Up Shit's Creek without a paddle.
Swimming
Shit's
upstream
Creek without a paddle. Yeah.
I think that if Calgary goes on a run, Brady might be as big as Walt by the end of it because he is just gassing beers in the crowd. Have you seen this guy? He's still
He was
there.
walking up. He had 2 in his back pocket, and holding
2 in his
another
back
one.
pocket, high-fiving every Calgary fan.
I loved how when Kachuk got the hat trick, the first Flames playoff hat trick since 1995. Everyone's telling his dad, Keith, to throw in his hat. You can read his lips. He goes, "This is my favorite hat. I'm not fucking throwing this hat on the ice."
The game the other night was great too. Last round when he put the kid on his shoulders, I don't even know if he knew the kid. He just put him on. He's dancing around. It's like, careful there, Brady. I think he might have had a few pops, but yeah, he had 2 in the back pocket, 1 in his hand, and then the sister Taryn, she was hugging Keith. She was double fisted too. It's like
it's a family affair.
In the family.
It's a family affair.
Getting at it. Man.
But yeah, no. So I mean, I guess the only way to wrap it up is it finishes 6-9, the score, nice, and we move on. It was an absolute shit show. We'd even had George Kittle, the football player. Everybody was tweeting about the Battle of Alberta because it's such a shit show.
One other note too: Connor McDavid led all skaters on both teams 25 minutes 33 seconds of ice time, including
He's our whole
too.
team.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see the early game: the Rangers, Carolina. Like you guys said a few minutes ago, boring as hell to start, man. Just not a lot of excitement. Rangers.
I thought it was more boring than Florida Tampa's first 2 periods.
Absolutely,
that was one of the worst. Carolina was horrible.
I'll say this for a team at the beginning of the podcast and all season long that I've been ragging about their defensive game. I thought the first 2 periods, the Rangers played unbelievable defensively. They were closing on Carolina. Carolina couldn't sniff a fucking scoring chance. They were dummying them. And I thought that the Biz curse had completely crippled the Canes. I give them the wake up between the second and third period. Finally, they fucking started dominating. And much like the regular season and much like you saw against the Pittsburgh Penguins, the New York Rangers hung out their goaltender to dry. The fact that they couldn't get the puck out of their end and they were allergic to it in the third period completely cost them the game. They end up getting that late goal by Aho and their arseholes completely puckered up. The one play that ended up fucking them royally was probably the only opportunity they had in that third period when Capo Caco had a wide open net and he sailed it wide. Was that not the worst wide open net miss that might be the worst wide open net I've seen in playoff history, at least in the last fucking decade. He could have sealed that game.
He could have stopped the puck and then
he could have blown it in.
Up your skate and take some of the snow off the blade.
Yeah.
And then put it in the net.
He could have went
what
to
was
the
he
bench,
doing? And here's
retaped his stick, came back and slid the fucking puck in the net.
He grabs the torch, has a 2-piece stick, flames it, takes the old Bauer Linden blade out, puts in a new one, then puts it in the empty net.
He goes in, gets a fucking massage by RA's massage guy. He gets turned into pizza dough. Puts his gear back on.
Yeah, that's your second overall pick. God, Kako. That's the guy every Rangers fan still says is going to, like Avery, he's going to be a 40 goal scorer. Like, all right. Like, I just missed a wide open net to win you game 1 in a game you really had no business winning after that third period. I think shots were 10-4. I would have guessed they were 20-4. It was like, that was a shooting gallery for Carolina. One guy I need to bring up. This Keandre Miller can fucking play.
Oh, yeah, he's a stud.
Holy,
he won
second
the
year in
series
the league,
Pitt.
the way he skates, the way he defends. He ran over Jarvis twice in one shift. Then he almost scored, too. Would have been the best shift of all time, maybe.
I will say
who's
this,
a great player? Former Ranger Jesper Fast. What a gamer that. That's the type of player you win with, that guy. No wonder every team he goes on, they're good.
I would say that honorable mention to Ranta. And I know
Ranta was great.
He was in the first 2 periods, man. He made some 10-bell saves. The way that he was able to spread out, if he can stay healthy, man, he's the type of guy who can steal you games. It's just like that's the one thing that we've questioned. And when he was with the Arizona Coyotes, I don't think he went a month stretch where he was a starter that he was able to stay healthy. I want to say he hit the IR 7 or 8 times in his 2-3 years there. So that's the one question mark, but credit to him, man. He deserves a star in that one for keeping him in it through the first 2 periods, but they just let him hang around way too much. Very disciplined game. Not a lot of penalties called. I'm wondering if that theme continues, but I will say, guys, I know we got the winner in overtime against the Penguins. Panarin looks non-existent 5-on-5. Like for a guy making $10 million, like I can't notice this guy very much. You know, everybody has seemed to do their thing in the first round as far as stars are concerned, elevating their game at a certain point in time. I'm still waiting for the Panarin show to show up and at least help them get over the hump on one game. But to lose game 1 on the road the way they did, that is a kick in the dick. But Gallant post game, he said, "Hey, we've been here before. We lost game 1 in the first round, put it behind us, and here we roll." So any other assessment on that game tonight, RA?
Gallant, I think he said it was also the best game they played all playoffs, even though they lost. And Shesterkin was pretty good. I mean, you know, he had his troubles versus Pittsburgh, but if he can get back in that zone, he can certainly make this series interesting.
He looked different tonight than in the
looked
Pittsburgh
great.
series. He did. He looked really good. The Aho goal, nothing. What a dish by Jarvis on the tying goal. And then kind of a bad luck bounce, you know, off of I think, was it Lindgren?
Yeah, it was Lindgren.
Yeah, so it's like mea culpa on me. Rangers fans coming at me as they always do, the loudmouth pigeons in New York. But I was totally incorrect in my first round analysis of Lafreniere not impressing me. Totally misspoke. I don't know what the hell I was talking about. I'll go back. They're talking about the kid line. Kako, whatever. I don't know. Heedle, whatever his name is. He scored a nice one tonight on a beautiful pass by Lafreniere. Lafreniere's playing awesome. I shouldn't have said that. So you got me to admit that I'm wrong. I'm a man of my word. I can admit when I was wrong. But this Capo Kako and you guys telling me this superstar in the making couldn't seal the deal, that's on you for drafting him second overall. And I'll say this also. If the Rangers go down 2-0 against Carolina, the way that they play team defense, they're done. They're absolutely done. Now, I wonder what Merles thinks. Merles says bet the home team if they lose game 1, knowing that they'll win game 2. I wonder if Merles is leaning towards betting the Rangers. He's lost about $4,500 on the Rangers this year. The guy loses every Rangers bet. So if he bets him game 2, I'm on Carolina.
Hey, boys, you guys can keep recording. I'm getting a knock at the door. I would imagine it's a noise complaint.
Or it's Sasha from Russia.
Sasha for St. Petersburg's here to give me a quick tug job.
I think we just
go answer it.
Yeah, just go answer it. We'll hold for a second.
Okay, well, you guys can keep chatting a little bit. Maybe we should invite him in for a little breakdown.
Hey, bring him on the screen. So in terms of this series, I think you're probably going to kind of see that type of boring hockey. I know it's not great to say, but both teams are so good defensively that I don't think you're going to see any high-scoring affairs. Maybe 1 or 2 games, there's a bunch of goals. But Shesterkin, if he locks it in like he did tonight, it'll be low-scoring, and that's how this series will be won.
Also, shout out to Ian Cole. Just his second ever playoff goal ended up being the game winner. Guy's been around for a long time, hasn't scored a bunch, so I always like to see those type of goals. So you guys got any final thoughts on this series before we move along? I know it was
that was my neighbor I'm sharing a wall with, so I got to keep it down the rest of the podcast. I'm going to be whispering.
So what did he say?
No, it was a girl. She's like,
ooh. Okay, yeah, you can whisper. You can whisper.
Okay. All right. Except are we done talking about the Rangers?
Yeah, we moved on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Boys, I just came down to HQ in Manhattan for a little bit. I said earlier, the weather's been great. The street scenery, wink, wink, is terrific. And the best way to make it better is to head over to your favorite local bar and order up some smooth tasting Pink Whitney. Or if you're hosting at home, serve it up as a chilled shot or mix it up with some club soda. Gee, I saw you pounding some Pink Whitney all week down in the office. Shocker.
Every night, baby. I love this stuff.
What about you, Whit? How many days a week do you touch the stuff, Whit?
3.
What about you, Biz?
Well, hey, I haven't had any here, but I did wear my Pink Whitney tie on national television the other night. I was getting chirped by some idiot Ranger fans about how it looked. It matched my suit, so
I don't even know how to tie a tie.
I know I just tie in a knot and throw it on. But to all you who have been sending us photos and hashtagging it and following us on social media on the Pink Whitney accounts, we have an amazing contest going on, specifically on the Instagram, where we're doing a giveaway every Wednesday. So we just want to thank all of our loyal, followers and people who support the brand and drink it and who are sending us photos of you crushing it during playoffs. And obviously, every power play goal your team scores, you got to do a shot. That's how we're doing things around here lately. I'm going to try to keep it classy because I got to keep in tune for not only the broadcast, but for the podcast. But I tell you what, when I'm done with this work binge, I'm going to be crushing Pink Whitney all summer long. I actually want to kind of throw a Pink Whitney party when I get back to Vancouver with my friends, maybe do like a little boat tour. So thank you to everybody. Shout out to Pink Whitney. We love our main sponsor, our presenting sponsor, and keep supporting us so we keep doing all these amazing things we get to do. We love you. Maybe I'll drop off a bottle for my next door neighbor for waking her up in the middle of the night on behalf of the Spittin Chiclets crew.
Well, however you take your Pink Whitney, enjoy the 5 times distilled vodka infused with fresh pink lemonade flavor. You do one right about now.
Grinnell, why don't you do a little bit more of a deep dive on what's going on the Instagram quickly for the listeners so they can win free prizes?
Yeah, Biz. So we got merch packages, we got beach packages, we got golf packages, and all you got to do is follow the Pink Whitney Instagram.
All right. Every Wednesday, Pink Whitney giveaway all summer long. Keep the change, you filthy animals.
All right. Well, of course, the second round started Tuesday night. The first game, the Battle of Florida for the second year in a row. The 2-time defending champs versus the President's Trophy winner. Gulf side versus Atlantic side. And after Anthony Duclair put the Cats up 1-0 with his first career playoff goal, Tampa Bay scored 4 unanswered goals, 3 of which came on the power play, 2 of them from their fourth line. Ended up winning 4-1. Just an insane level of talent in this game, boys. It seemed like every time one of the teams went up the ice, they could score. The fourth line, like I just said, was huge for Tampa Bay. Goals from Perry and Belmar. That sick pass from Kucherov to Perry was unbelievable. Florida thought they tied it at 2. Goal ended up being disallowed. It was an obvious call. It hit the net. It was tough to see in the replay. Cooper went crazy. They ended up taking it down. But then there was the other goal, Biz, when Tampa was up 3. It was a 2-1. And the goaltender interference, which Cirelli is asked, hit Bobrovsky in the face. They looked at it. They said, no, they allowed it to stand. And I was very surprised. Were you surprised or no?
I think the goal should have been disallowed. He clearly makes contact with his stick and with his head. I was asking Coho. He thought the same thing. On the broadcast, he kind of froze up because he's like, I think this is going to be disallowed. But the way they've been calling it is they kind of been encouraging more goals, and it seemed like a 50-50. So he wasn't shocked that they ended up allowing it. Now, I'm going to disagree with you in a sense of the first half of the game. The execution was dog shit. I thought the game was so boring. There was no life in the building. Absolute pathetic performance, in my opinion, by Florida to come out. Now, they did get Duclair going. Duclair was a healthy scratch in game 6. This guy had 31 goals during the regular season, and he's not looked like his regular season self. Well, he got back going. That's a good thing for the Florida Panthers. But the main topic for the Florida Panthers right now is their dog shit power play. It's fucking embarrassing. Only 2 teams in the last decade have won a round without scoring a power play goal in that round, and they did it the last round against Washington. I believe it was the Boston Bruins. Yeah. I think might have done it the year that they won the cup.
Yeah.
There's one other one, and then also in 2020, actually, when Tampa Bay Lightning beat the Columbus Blue Jackets. I want to say they swept them in 4 games. They did not score a power play goal. But if they don't get their power play going, they're going to be done in 5 games against this Tampa Bay Lightning team. I don't think that Huberdeau, he's another guy who has not looked like himself. He's second guessing him and double clutching on the power play, not executing. They're overthinking things. We talked about that Ekblad injury and how it took away from the power play, and they had to make adjustments. And it was rolling towards the end of the season. All of a sudden they come back together, and, maybe there's a little bit of feng shui that's off. But at this point, and you were a power play guy, I don't know how long you were on power plays that struggled at certain points, but it is clearly becoming psychological at this point. No?
Yeah, and when I was on the power play and the power play struggled, I was the guy taken off the power play. So I kind of understand that at some point you got to make a change, usually the weakest link. It's kind of hard to look at Florida's weakest link. I know we talked about 5 forwards at one point, and Ekblad came back. The team is just, they're in disarray. And yeah, Duclair got back in the lineup and he scored, but after the 4th line, he then played the least minutes. He played like 12 minutes. So I'm sure Brunette was disgusted with his effort if he ended up playing only 12 minutes after he scored in the first period, right? So you could tell that guy's game's off. Yeah, the whole team looks off. But as I said before, Andrei Vasilevsky, this fucking guy, it doesn't matter. I don't even care who they play. He's now in the groove again. He had a couple weird games against Toronto. I'm sure that game 7 effort all of a sudden gave him that kind of, how do I describe it? Just that light bulb goes off in his brain, reminding himself, oh, I'm the best to ever do it. I'm the greatest goalie in the world. And last night, I mean, Florida didn't play great. Sorry, it was Sunday night or whatever, Tuesday night. I don't even know what fucking day it is. But Florida didn't play great, but they still had tons of chances. And he's just sitting there, just hitting them, same as game 7, no angles, nothing to do, nothing to shoot at. And if Tampa's going to have Kucherov play like that, Florida's in a lot of trouble. I don't care if they have no Braden Point. I don't care what the hell happens. If Vasilevsky's healthy and Kucherov's playing like he did, Florida's done. And Kucherov took a lot of shit, kind of rightfully so, because there were some games in the first round he wasn't even he is non-existent.
Well, Whit, so Talk ended up telling us he had the flu game 6 and 7. He was puking and stuff. I thought he was injured because he definitely didn't look like himself. And I got a couple tweets about it, and people were like, oh, how's he looking now? And I'm like, he looks fucking great. He just walked Ekblad and set up Corey Perry back door, keep the fucking change. Yeah, he looks amazing now. And it was clear that something was off. So Talk ended up he must have talked to Coop, and Coop said, yeah, he had the flu. He was puking and shit. But going back to game 7 now against the Leafs after Point went down, the fact that he was able to muster it up and get the job done in the second half of that game, much like you were giving credit to Draisaitl, credit to Kucherov, man. That's buddy, playing through that where you have no energy and you want to be keeled over because you got the flu. Well, now he looks healthy as ever, and what a play that was to walk Ekblad and slide that over. That was a tap in for Corey Perry, and that's what got them going in that game 1.
Issues for Tampa. That Cernak injury, Cernak is a fucking
beast,
hell of a hockey player, playoff style player, beast, strong, tough, physical, prick to play against. So if he's really injured, that's going to be a tough go. And they've been playing 11 forward, 7D, and Cal Foote looked great in the first round, but they sat him down. He didn't play for long stretches in game 1. So then they're kind of rolling with 5 because of the injury to Cernak. I think Bogosian's still got a lot in the tank, huh? I thought he might be done. He's playing some solid hockey. He's playing big minutes, tough to play against, similar to Cernak's style game. Hedman's obviously the horse that runs the whole show. Ekblad is that player on Florida. He is not Victor Hedman, though. So when you look at top-end players, yeah, Barkov's unreal, and Huberdeau had this unbelievable season. You look at Kucherov, Hedman, and Vasilevsky, that three-headed monster's shitting on Florida's top 3 players. I'm sorry. And that Barkov's the best all-around forward maybe in the game, but you look at those 3 together on Tampa. Now, back to that goal being allowed. The broadcast did a good job. I don't remember who was doing the announcement. I think it was Keith Jones. Was he doing the color or in between the benches, Biz?
No, he does color now.
Okay, so he's doing the color. And I think while they're reviewing the goal, he goes, oh, well, Kucherov just saw the replay and hopped over the bench. He knows this one's getting called back. And it didn't. And I never really saw the explanation. And, I think people are most pissed off because Bobrovsky's he's in the crease. He's not even outside the crease, and he gets nudged in the head. And I think they talk about if you do make contact with the goalie, but then he has enough time to reset himself and make the save that it would still be a goal. Dude, his head snaps over, and by the time it's back, the shot's going through him. So I really am so confused as to how that counted. And I really wonder when they're looking at goals now, how they're making decisions. I said in the first round I was confused at what's a goal. By the way, I'm whispering just because you're whispering, because I don't even know what I'm doing. But I was confused in the first round. You guys gave me shit. You fucking 3 idiots. You're like, what are you why are you confused? Are you guys not confused now? Now nobody has a clue what's a goal.
I know Dave Jackson on Twitter, he was saying that even though his feet were in the crease, Bobrovsky, because he was leaning over, that part of his body was out of the crease. Like,
really?
I was like, well, that shouldn't matter.
I don't know who that is, but they're wrong. That was goalie interference.
Former ref. Sorry, go ahead, Biz.
No, plain and simple, that was goalie interference.
Yeah, I went and looked it up. Rule 69.3. contact inside the goal crease. If an attacking player initiates contact with the goalkeeper, incidental or otherwise, while the goalkeeper is in his goal crease and a goal is scored, the goal will be disallowed. And that's the epitome of affecting a guy's ability to make a save. I mean, his ass hits him in the head as the puck's coming in. We were doing the live stream. I saw this goal's coming down, and I had the over. I needed it, but I was shocked to shit that they kept it up there because.
Biz, you said it before, but the way that they went out and lost Coleman, who had 2 sick goals for Calgary tonight, and lost Gord and lost Goudreau, and all of a sudden they get Paul and they fucking get Hagel. It's unbelievable that they went and did it. They literally went and found other third-line players who could exactly get the job done the same way. So without those moves, I mean, and Colton, this Colton is awesome. And he seems like an enormous prick on the ice, too.
Yeah.
You saw his celebration last night. It made it 4-1. A little bit of a big celebration for a 4th goal.
Yeah, what that kid is unbelievable. And nobody replenishes their roster quite like Tampa Bay either.
No way. That's why they're competing for another cup again.
Well,
it's amazing that they're still doing this. Will they run out of gas? Who knows? But to watch this team and to watch this goalie right now, we're looking at true greatness.
You know, I was a little bit concerned of the lack of use of 4th line in that Toronto series, and we actually interviewed Patty Maroon right before the game, and I think it was Talk who asked him about, you know, are you going to be going knocking on the coach's door for more ice time? And he essentially said, we're going to find a way to be more of a factor. Will they get the eventual game winner? And I don't know if you guys saw the face-off. They ended up changing it up in the offensive zone where they put both wingers on the inside, and then they put the defenseman on the wall. And then on that 50-50 battle, when the puck drops for the face-off, Maroon ends up coming in and helping out and poking it back. And then he ends up poking it up to Perry. And then Belmar ended up falling up. And as Perry poked it and then Maroon went to the net, Sherratt and Ekblad get dragged into Maroon. And then that's when it opened up the lane for Belmar. So a great offensive zone face-off ends up winning the game. And I know we talked about how it should have been a lot closer because that third one shouldn't have counted, but that's the 4th line coming up big. And right now it's the bottom 6 for Tampa over the last few games who have really stepped up and got the win. I know I got the clown nose on and I got Florida in 5. One component that
Picked him in 5?
I picked him at 5 because did I pick him in 5?
Why are you doing that? Why don't you respect the Lightning?
I know I should start respecting the Lightning more, but I genuinely thought that because of the point injury, you're mentioning the Cernak injury, they look so fucking tired. They look gassed in that third period against Toronto. Like they laid everything on the line. They blocked fucking 60 million fucking shots. And all of a sudden you had a Florida team who finally got over the hump. They did it in 6. They don't have
Bobrovsky.
I know they got fucking Bobrovsky, but they have a fresh team and you thought they would have learned their fucking lesson. And you got to assume that the power play's going to finally at one point start firing. And it's not firing. That's why I picked them in 5. But Andrew Brunette needs to go into that locker room and lose his fucking mind. You get one trump card to come in at one point and lose your mind to try to spark your team. He has to fucking do that. Florida is playing like absolute dog shit in playoffs. They're playing with fire. They need to wake the fuck up. Wake up, Florida. If you don't wake the fuck up, the champs are going to keep being champs and keep moving on. And I'm going to look like a fucking idiot.
By the way, they scratched that Mason Marchman. I mean, maybe he hadn't played great. He's a monster.
He
can score. He's physical. Get that guy back in the lineup.
Hey, that's why I was a little concerned about the Giroux, but although Giroux's been unbelievable, it's overkill. It's almost like they got too many good guys. Now they're overthinking it. Just stick with the same fucking team and get the job done.
I was going to bring up with that call on McDonough when Chari
brutal.
I was like, you can't possess a puck any more than hold it in your fucking hand. I mean, it was perfectly timed hit. I couldn't believe they called it. Didn't really matter in the long run, but
I love Noel Acciari. But if that's a penalty in the NHL playoffs, I'm the best fucking putter in the world. I mean, what the fuck? That was a perfect hit. Perfect body check. Right, the guy has the puck.
You don't see Coop get animated too much. He was fucking losing his mind, especially after we saw the replay.
Hey, quickly back to Calgary, Edmonton. Just quick. Daryl Sutter's post-game press conference, and now I can't do his voice, so it's way funnier if you watch the clip. But he said, "We were told it was a boring series last time, so I told the players yesterday we got to score 7 to 10 goals today. That's what we did."
You bastard.
Shit. That
Oh,
guy's
he is a
funny.
human quote machine. I love that
Funny
guy.
bastard.
That's my team.
Talking about refs, we haven't even mentioned our guest yet. We're not bringing him on right now. A little bit. Referee Tim Peel. He's been retired
him
for a
back.
little bit. Well known through the NHL when he refed a few years back. So we're going to bring him on in a little bit. Did you guys have any final thoughts on this Florida Tampa series, before we go to St. Louis, Colorado?
This is the Murley Garrett. This is the Murley Rule 5 of EBR, I believe, is the
Yep.
betting the home team game too. So I'm not doing it because I don't bet against Tampa unless it's Game 7 against the Leafs, so I can mush the Leafs and have Tampa win.
Yeah, Paul. Florida 0 for 21 in the playoffs in the power play so far.
That
That's
is
brutal.
insane.
It
Buddy,
is.
going into this, so in the first round of playoffs, they had 18 power plays. They had 20 shots on net in those power plays. They had 9 shots against on those power plays. So their power play had mustered up 11 shots for, or plus 11 shots and no goals. They're just sucking the life out of their team. And
I'm trying to think of an analogy.
the home crowd, the life was sucked right out of the home crowd because of it. They
A lot
were
of
the
Tampa Bay fans there.
a lot of Tampa Bay fans, and that was the worst home crowd that they might as well have gone back to 3 years ago and had nobody in the building. That's how fucking loud it was.
I'm trying to think of an analogy. Like I was maybe thinking like Steph Curry all of a sudden just missing free throws, but that's not good because it's an individual player where your power play that's been amazing all year can't score. It would be like if the best offense in the NFL got to the playoffs and the first 20 times they were in the red zone, they didn't get a point. It's like, what the fuck is going on? They literally, Biz, like you said, are in their own head. There's no explanation otherwise. It's not like Washington had this insane PK either.
No, they're doing it to themselves. So we can move on to what I think is the most primed up team ready to go.
Ooh.
And I know I took a flyer and I took a chance on the fact that St. Louis would beat Colorado, but holy shit, do they look ready? They look ready to hoist the cup right now. They are just nuts.
Yeah. We've been blessed with some tremendous goaltender performances so far in the playoffs. We got another one Tuesday's late game. Jordan Bennett picked up right where he left off in the first round. Single-handedly kept the Blues in this game, stopped 51 of 54 shots. But thanks to a perfect Gabriel Landeskog screen on a Josh Manson shot in OT, he didn't see the 54th, and Colorado escaped with a 3-2 win. Even though Colorado played their asses off, completely dominated, outshot the Blues 54-25. I say escape because Bennett was so damn close to stealing that game. Unbelievable performance. But do you think he's going to be that much of a difference, or is Colorado just going to smoke them here, Biz?
I think that was similar to the one game that Nashville ended up putting a fight and bringing it to overtime against them. Let me pump the brakes there. Actually, Berube is a very good coach. I think that they will make adjustments. He was pretty irate in the post-game press conference, kept it together, but he got asked a few questions where he was just very short-winded with them. Face-offs, they were awful. They were awful. Between JT Compher, Kadri, and Landeskog, they were 19-3 on draws. Each of them were over 80%. So when you're giving away the puck to a team like that off the hop, it's not ideal. And the only way they were able to win draws was when they were throwing O'Reilly on the ice. So they had to keep throwing him on there. Robert Thomas was getting chewed up in the faceoff circle. You know, he's a hell of a player, but maybe that's one tool that he hasn't developed in his bag. So all of a sudden you're having one of your best centermen in O'Reilly. He's having to be a repairman. He's having to go take defensive zone draws. So, and considering Colorado's so good at faceoffs, if he's going 50%, that means 50% of the time he's starting off his shifts in his own end, getting eaten alive, where he's got to spend 45 seconds playing defensive zone against this fucking juggernaut. And when you have these waves of offense coming at him, there's no way they're going to be able to do it. So the ice was completely tilted the whole game. They weren't able to get any type of sustained pressure in the offensive zone to relieve any pressure from their own back end. So they just had no gas in the tank to get any type of anything going. So without Binnington, that game's 10-1. There was also a couple questionable goals at the end of that game. I don't know how you guys felt about them. The one hold in the corner where Devon Taves got a stick wrapped around, and then also the high stick on Shen. Now, Shen ended up high stick, and I don't remember who it was, but the guys spun him around, and his head was about probably 2 feet off the ice. So it wasn't a high stick, it was a low stick. So tons of people were messaging me, everybody being like, this is a bullshit call. Why are you laughing?
Just calling it a low stick's funny to me. It wasn't a high stick, it was a low stick, like my low voice.
Yeah. But they ended up scoring on the power play, and that's what pushed it to overtime. But they would not be denied. Manson comes up huge. Landeskog was a beast. They were so good on puck retrievals all night long. They had a crack at it. They ended up retrieving it below the goal line. Kadri over to Landeskog, up top, low to high. He does the pump fake, finds the screen, zips it up top. Game over. Signed, sealed, and delivered. If they bring that type of effort against St. Louis, they're going to be out of the series in 4 games.
Yeah, I mean, amazing to hear a guy who picked St. Louis all of a sudden after 1 game say it could be over, but I don't think you're that far off. Now, here's the problem. You get an effort like that from Binnington. At the same time, you have an off night from Makar, who kind of was at fault in the first O'Reilly goal. He made a little bit of a weak play, and it got deflected back to O'Reilly. So you got Makar having an off night, which isn't really ever going to happen again. Maybe at least not next game. He's not going to have 2 bad games in a row. I'm not even saying he was bad, but he wasn't his usual dominant self. And then also, Colorado has so many different weapons that the nights the big dogs are off, it doesn't even matter. This Nichushkin. Holy shit. Let me remind everyone, too, in 2018-19, he didn't score a goal the whole fucking season for Dallas. And Colorado brought him over, and he had 2 solid years. Then this year, he went off. Now, granted, he's playing on one of the top lines. He had 25 goals this year, just under a point per game. And now he's a truck. He skates. He's one of the fastest skaters in the league. He's made a huge difference. He does a great job in game 1. Landeskog on the OT winner. It was a shift you should show every young hockey player ever that wants to play with drive and play with passion like a captain does. He wins a battle. He gets the puck back. He then gets the screen. Manson has a hell of a fake shot and then gets one through. Bednar talked about Manson after the game and talked about how big of a difference he made and how great of a game he had. And that's one where Joe Sakic after is like, that was a great trade. I'm telling you, you trade for a guy like that and he has 1 OT winner. It's like, holy fuck, that trade was worth it. Maybe that's a little bit of an exaggeration, but you guys know what I mean. He made an impact, and he's a beast of a defenseman. And the other thing I wanted to mention was even the shots being that lopsided. I think it was 2-1 basically. The scarier thing is the scoring chances. It was like 39-11. It was worse than the shots, the actual grade A chances too.
Grade A chances after the second period were 17-1.
I mean, what the fuck are you gonna do with that, St. Louis? How are you supposed to come back from that? Krug is such a big loss right now.
Yeah.
Not having him is such a killer to get out of your own zone. I know I said that last episode. Shout out to Binnington. You got to start him again. Unfortunately, of all the amazing saves, I think the goal that put Colorado up 2-1, Girardi probably liked back. He kind of sucked that one in. I think it went 5-hole. But, I mean, you can't really chirp a guy for 1 bad goal in a game when he makes 50 friggin' saves. But Colorado's they are at a different level than every other team. They haven't lost yet. They've only haven't been leading a game for 10 seconds, it felt like.
Well, and you said like a quote-unquote off night from Makar is like basically 90% of the league. If you look at the defensemen, that's their best game of the season is an off night from Makar. You then have Girard, you have Taves, you have Byram. Those 3 guys are mobile, active guys who can get up the ice. Like Girard, like he was fucking buzzing through the neutral zone. Like you saw on his goal, he was the one who generated the offense by walking it through the neutral zone. He ended up passing it over to Landeskog, who ended up dumping it in. So it's like they just have these waves and waves and waves. Another thing that Berube was not happy about was their line changes, which were absolute dog shit too. So all in all, by the way,
the Kyrou goal was because of a bad line change on the PK by Colorado.
Right.
So Berube's upset about a thing with St. Louis, and it was actually a problem for Colorado, and they still won. So everyone's in one playing Colorado. Whoever wins Calgary, Edmonton, they're going to fucking smoke. It doesn't matter. Maybe Tampa can beat them. I don't know. They're a fucking wagon, dude. Who the hell is going to beat the Avalanche?
Yeah,
Look at this team.
I'm regretting my St. Louis pick right now. I was being a bit of a hero. I was trying to be a reverse mush again. All right, anything else you want to touch on?
Yeah, Ryan O'Reilly had a 6th of the playoffs. He's got a goal in 5 straight games. And like we said, for all the talk about Makar and Taves, it was Gerard Manson combined for 2 goals and an assist. In OT, the Avs outshot him 13-0. They hit 5 posts during the game. And the Avs have now beat the Blues in 8 straight playoff games. So basically, next game is the Blues season, I would say. I mean, you go down 2-0 to a team like that, you're probably toast. So I have to throw a little.
Yeah, how are you going to win 4 out of 5 against them?
Yeah, exactly. Anything else, boys? You want to throw it over to Timmy Peel or what?
Yeah, this was a really fun interview. I know he's been popping up a lot places. I think he just went on Pat McAfee as well, but we wanted to sit down with him for, I think we got hour and a half with him, G. And
Fun
we
stories,
though.
It was good guy, good storyteller,
fun guy to chat with, man. So we'll have him on again, but I know we've been ragging on officials. Maybe they got to bring him back. Fuck, need some with some playoff experience. Hot Mike.
I got a better chance of playing in the Masters next year than Peeler getting brought back, and he knows it.
All right, well, this interview is brought to you by Game Time, the exclusive ticketing partner of Barstool Sports. Game Time is a new ticketing app that makes it easier than ever to score last-minute deals on tickets to sports, concerts, and shows, and they guarantee the lowest price. They cracked the code on how to score deals on last-minute tickets. Got my Bruins Game 6 tickets last week. It was a breeze. Checked out the app last minute, saw a price I liked, rung them up, and within a half hour, I was in the awesome seats telling people down in front. The biggest last-minute price drops can be found on the seats you thought you could never buy. Me and G been taking good advantage of it this year. G, you going to do some stuff across the street, MSG, or what?
Yeah, I was thinking of maybe trying to go to a Rangers playoff games if we have some time. So, of course, first call, Game Time, baby.
No doubt. Before Game Time, it was a real roll of the dice because you didn't know who you could trust, but you can trust Game Time because they get it done. So download the Game Time app, go to the account tab to create a login, and redeem the code Chiclets for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Download Game Time, last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. And now, enjoy Tim Peel. It's a pleasure to welcome our next guest to the show. He reffed his first NHL game in October of 1999 and would add over 1,300 more games as well as over 90 playoff games. He also worked at 2014 Olympics as well as 2 Winter Classics. And his first penalty was called on, shocker, Mark Messier. Thanks so much for joining us on the Spittin Chiclets podcast, Tim Peel. How's it going, Peel?
I'm great. Listen, I'm not sure. Am I supposed to call you Rear Admiral or Brian? I'm not sure. Because I really like the Rear Admiral, so I just might call you that.
Have you heard why he's called Rear Admiral? You may change your opinion on that nickname.
I think my mother and my wife, too, still call me Brian Peel. So let's stick with RA for now.
Oh, thanks for having me, boys.
Pleasure's all ours. Like I know you live in St. Louis now, and St. Louis is one of those cities where guys who play there, whatever sport it is, they seem to settle there. How did you end up in St. Louis?
Yeah, no, you're right, Brian. The guys love it here. 2001, I got hired in '98. I was living in Toronto, and Don Koharski, who I really looked up to, he was from the Maritimes. I grew up in New Brunswick. He grew up in Nova Scotia. Then we both lived in Toronto, and then he moved to St. Louis 10, 15 years before I did. And I wanted to get out of Canada because of the taxes. And so I went to my boss at the time, was Andy Van Helleman, and he said, where do you want to go? And I said, St. Louis. And I didn't know anybody and except Coho. So I came here in 2001, and it was a month before 9/11. And we go to training camp, and that's when 9/11 hit. And I remember coming back to the United States and coming back to St. Louis, and I couldn't believe how patriotic Americans were. And it really got me. And I'm like, you know what? I belong here. I love the United States. And obviously then I became a citizen. So yeah, Coho was the first guy. And then Coho introduced me to Chaser. And then Chaser, obviously, he's the mayor here in St. Louis, and he introduced me to everybody. And 21 years later, I'm here, met my wife here, and this is it.
So you know every donut shop and bar in St. Louis now.
Exactly. Coho really missed the boat on that. He really missed the boat on monetizing.
He should have a donut franchise at this point.
Yeah. He missed the boat on that. And that happened obviously Schoenfeld's episode in Jersey. And then a couple nights later, Coho was working in Boston. And as he came out for the game, the fans had put all these Dunkin' Donut boxes on the ledge as he was skating around. And he missed the boat on that one for sure.
Especially in Wayne's World. I mean, Officer Kohaski, they kind of immortalized him with that. He had to cash in at that point.
He was a legend, you know.
Have you been giving them to him about his calls on TNT yet?
Yeah, no, I'm not, because I know that is a tough job. And it's, you know what? I think he's doing a great job, and Steph Ogier are doing a good job. It's tough to go on there. You don't want to go on there and go, fuck, the refs fucked it up. They missed the call.
I know,
they got it wrong.
You don't want to throw him under the bus?
Yeah, like nobody wants that. The league doesn't want it. And so I think what they're trying to do is educate the fans on why something was called, why it wasn't called. And you know what? They're doing a good job, but they'll probably be busier now in the playoffs. As you guys know, regular season, you got 3 or 4 penalties, you got a hook, a hold, a trip, whatever. Now the shit's gonna hit the fan here next week. And so those guys will probably be a little busier.
Well, that's one of the things we wanted to ask you about. Like, you know, what's your thoughts on going from regular season hockey to playoff hockey? And I know at the beginning of the year, they were talking a lot about the cross check. I think the big one ended up being on, was it Kucherov for Tampa Bay? He ended up getting it in the ribs.
It was Mayfield on Kucherov in Long Island. And I think everyone agrees that was one that should have been called. And I don't want to say our standard slipped, because Wacom does a really good job of making sure we stay on standard, hook on the hands, free hand, stuff like that. But maybe it did slip a little, but that's what the competition committee's for. The GMs, they get together every summer and say, hey, where can we improve the game? A few years ago, you know, I was on with Mark Mathot there a while ago. And do you remember when Sid slashed his hand and basically Mathot's finger was hanging off? And
yeah, you got the Johnny Depp special.
Yeah,
Witter
might have been playing with Sid then. And so then we're like, hey, we got to tighten up our slashing standard. Same thing with cross checking. I think the guys have done a great job this year. You don't really see that many of them. But it's a good point. Is it going to ramp up in the playoffs? And if it does, our guys will be ready to call it. So
I'd love to get in, and we will get into your entire story and then kind of how it all ended. And more than anything, I'm curious. We talk to so many players that after their career, it's tough, and you miss the game and you miss the guys. Same with you guys, very close group knit of friends as referees. Was it hard for you? I mean, we're a little over a year since you've been done. Was there times of was it difficult and a little depressing, or was it actually like, all right, I'm kind of now at the point where I stepped away from the game and I'm comfortable?
No, that's a great question, Witter. And I know that it is tough for a lot of people. You know, I'm actually, my birthday's tomorrow. I'm turning 56. So
happy B-Day. You look good for 56.
You look
great. Buddy. Thank
Not
you.
gonna lie.
So actually, Biz, I need some spending money for my birthday. So I'm playing with one of your colleagues, Panger. I'm going to try to get into that Pigeon's wallet and get some money out of it.
Oh, yeah. I thought you said you were going to start selling swipe ups or something, but get you a Peeler 20 promo code.
So Panger and I are going to play tomorrow, my birthday, and have a few beers on the course and so on. So I got started later in life. Obviously, you know, my son Bronson's 9, my daughter's 8. So I had my first at 46 and my second at 48, and I had been single my whole career. And, you know, for a reason, I would have been a bad married husband, and I would have been a bad father back in the day, being on the road all the time. So the last couple of years, Witter, I was really, you know, I'm watching Bronson, Jamal Mayers and I, we coach a select team here in St. Louis, and Jammer and I coach it, and his son Crew is the same age as Bronson. So we've been together the last couple of years, and, you know, I'm in Vegas and I'm watching their games on Live Barn, and my daughter's a really good horseback rider. She's got a show this weekend, and I'd miss her shows. And so the last 2 years, I still love the game. I still went out and worked hard, of course, but I was looking forward to when the season was over, and just, you know, I think you've got small kids, and you know, it's tough. We're on the road. I got a great Walt story. So in the lockout in 2004, you guys remember when Walt came back from the lockout, he was a little big at the time.
He's a big boy.
So we were hanging
He's
out.
always a big boy.
He was eating all those donuts along the glass.
So we were hanging out at OB Clark's one day, good sports bar here in St. Louis, and I'm going on to Walt. I think I'm trying to make him feel sorry for me, and I think I'm getting to him because I'm like, Walt, you play 41 home games. I go, I have 5 home games the entire year. I go, so that means I'm on the road 36 more games, times it by 2. I'm on the road 72 more nights than you are. And Walt goes like this. He's got his Budweiser and he takes a big sip. He sets it down. He goes, I guess you should have been a better player. And I'm like, good point. Swear to God.
Should have shot more pucks, Peeler.
Yeah. Typical Walt, And so, you know what? I'm loving it. I do not miss it at all. I'm loving the next chapter of my life.
Nice.
I don't miss the travel.
And that's to remind everyone, the players are lucky enough to be flying private jets. I mean, you guys are grinding out delays at the airports, fucking issues with the flights. It's like, it's a lot more stressful, right?
It was brutal. It was the worst part of our job. The games were the easy part. It was the travel. And it's funny you bring that up, Witter, because I'm still on this text thread with a few guys that are working, and the league was very good to us. They flew us first class, but there were many times you had to take a Southwest flight, and obviously there's no first class, and
the cattle
sitting bitch between two fatties.
so like I like to get on the plane, and the first thing I do is, hey, can I get very politely, but can I get a cocktail? I need a cocktail as soon as I get on. So I'm figuring out on Southwest, it literally would take 30 or 40 fucking minutes to get a drink. Like, it takes forever to get a drink on Southwest. So because I was A1 preferred, we'd be the first ones boarding the flight. So I tried it one night, and I went right to the back of the plane, because there's always a couple flight attendants at the back of the plane. And I peel off a 20. I give it to them. I said, hey, can I ask a favor? I said, do you think I could get a glass of wine before, when we take off? And they're like, oh, no, you don't have to give us any money. I said, no, I really would like to. I said, I'd really appreciate it. Well, then they take the money. Now I got them in my back pocket. So this one flight, I'm literally, we're just taking off, and it's going, and like we're like this. And the flight attendant comes from behind, flips the tray over. The tray's on a slant. She sets down the glass of red wine. Everyone's looking around at me going, who the fuck is this guy? How's he getting a glass of wine already? So one of the guys, so I did this for like,
we're at 3,000 feet and they're giving this guy wine.
So I did this for 5-6 years on Southwest. So I tell the guys, so one of the guys that I work with, he's a linesman, and he texts me tonight. He goes, and he's on this text already, he goes, 15 minutes. He goes, I'm using the Peelsy trick. He says 60% of the time it works all the time.
That's a veteran call right there.
Do you have any nightmare travel stories? Like you just mentioned how sometimes you have to maybe spend the night in an airport.
No, I never had that. You know what? Didn't have to sleep there, but many, a lot of times you're there, and all of a sudden, finally, you're holding on, and then finally the flight gets canceled. And so now you got to get your bags. You got to get the shuttle bus. We're Marriott guys over the shuttle. It was a shit show, you guys, and I know you appreciated it, especially now that you're retired. But I was in Phoenix doing a Coyote game a few years ago, and there was a big snowstorm in Denver, and Tampa was in Arizona, and Tampa was flying to Denver after the game. So they came to Brad Kovacic and they said, hey, we want you to get on the flight with Tampa and to get to Colorado, because the guys aren't going to get there for the game. So Coop and I, so Coop's first job really in hockey was coaching. John Cooper was coaching the Texas Arcana Bandits, which Hully and Chaser owned. So then they relocated the Bandits to St. Louis. They were then the St. Louis Bandits. He won a national championship here. So because Coop was the assistant or the coach for Chaser's team, and Chaser and I are best buddies, Coop and I would hang out all the time. And then he went on and on to win other stuff. So now he's the head coach of Tampa. And, him and I have drank a lot of wine over the years. So we sit down, Covey and I are in, row 2 or whatever, the charter, and Coop, all of a sudden, I see him talking to the flight attendants, and he comes back and he's got a big styrofoam cup, and he goes, "Here you go, Peelsy." And I'm like, this is the way to travel, food, wine. It was awesome.
Brunelli, pull up the score sheet to that next game. I want to see how many power plays fucking the Lightning got.
They were 7-1 in favor of Tampa.
Giving them 5-minute majors.
Hey,
5-minute majors for offsides.
End up winning the cup after.
Yeah, exactly.
What about looking back? I mean, I have so many different questions. Was there ever a time you can remember maybe the maddest a player ever got at you, right? Like a time when you're like, holy fuck, this guy's fuming right now.
You know what? Trip Tracy actually texted something out the other day. It was after, my tweet of whatever. And he said, someone was ripping me, and he goes, "Hey, I've known Peelsy for years. He's got the thickest skin I know." He goes, "When Carolina won the Stanley Cup, and Dougie Waite had been traded from St. Louis, and Dougie and I'd play golf in the summer, and that. So Dougie goes to Carolina, they win the cup. It was the second or third round, probably the second. And anyway, they're playing Montreal, and I wave off a goal against Carolina. And I honestly can't remember. I think it was the right call, but it might have been the wrong call. And Brenda Moore and Rod and I would joke about it years later. Brenda Moore literally had a stick in his hand. And I swear to God, I thought he's going to hit me over the fucking head with his stick. He was so pissed off at me. So they went on to win the cup. And then they brought it to St. Louis, and I went to Dougie's party, and Trip Tracy was there, and he brought up that story. But there were a few times. I remember it was the Olympics in 2014, and I don't know if Finland had won the last time that they had won a medal. I can't remember. And I'm doing the bronze medal game, and they're playing the United States, and I called 2 penalty shots in the first period in favor of the U.S. And I think Kaner might have had both of them. And Teemu Selanne came over, and he was spitting in my face. Because he wanted, this was his last Olympics, and he wanted to win a medal. And he came over, and he was just fucking irate. He was losing his shit. And if it wasn't the Olympics and it wasn't on ABC, if it was just a regular season game, he would have been kicked out. But I'm like, first of all, I can't give an unsportsmanlike penalty. I certainly can't kick him out. It's Teemu Selanne, and we're at the Olympics. I got to eat a lot of shit here. Oh. And so Finland goes on to win the game, and in the village where the refs stayed, the bar at the hotel never shut down. We kept it open till 5, 6 in the morning every night. And so about 2 in the morning, here comes Team Finland, Jarmo Kekalainen, Kimmo Timonen, Teemu Selanne, and they're all coming in. And Timo sees me, and Jarmo comes and sits beside me. And because I'd known Jarmo when he was the assistant GM here in St. Louis, and Timo comes over and he gives me a big hug, and I go, "You are a fucking front runner." I said, "You were going to fucking kill me." So we're on the flight home, and his wife is apologizing to me. She goes, "I'm so sorry, Timmy." But he just wanted to win that bad. And you have to respect that. And I saw him on TV the other night for Getsy's last game, and I'm like, this guy, he's like red wine. He just gets better in old age. He looks he looks the same as he did 10 years ago.
Golfer,
it's unbelievable.
Probably has a huge hammer. Just
got it all.
He does have it all. Hey, when I grow up, I want to be Teemu Selanne. Seriously.
Peeler, had you ever seen a referee in the refs room be so rattled by something a player had done? Like you mentioned, you had thick skin. Was there anybody who took you off your game where you were really shook up? Like you just mentioned that situation. Seems like it was water off a duck's back, but maybe you or another guy where it just like a situation in general that happened.
Yeah, nothing that I wish I had been, I was in the league 23 years. I wish I had been more like me the last 10, 12 years than the first part of my career. First part of my career, I took myself too serious. When I got called up, It's when we went to the 2-man system, the 4-man system, but the 2-referee system. And I'm working with Don Koharski, Mick Magoo, Kerry Fraser, Bill McCreary, on and on, Rob Schick, like a lot of household names that were really good refs. And I came in feeling that I had to make a name for myself. And I came across, and I certainly understand it, I came across too arrogant and too cocky. And I remember Wacom said to me 12, 13 years ago, he's like, dude, don't take yourself so serious on the ice. And when he said that, it kind of made the rest of my career better. I got along better with the players, and because that's the way I am off the ice. You know, I'm friends with the players. Like that's my personality. But when I got on the ice early in my career, I felt like I had to take myself a little too serious.
Tim, I want to get into like the last few years. Obviously, refs have been under a huge microscope, not in just the NHL, all kinds of leagues. I want to know: is there a flaw in the system? Is it just because of the high def TVs, the slow mo replay? Is there a real problem at reffing, or is it just a perception problem?
I think it's a perception problem. You know, yes. Listen, you lose in the last 4 or 5 years. You lost Dave Jackson, Mike Lego, Dan O'Halloran. Dan O'Halloran worked 11 Stanley Cup finals. Brad Meyer just retired this year. Mark Joannette's retiring. You know, we've had a lot of turnover in the last 3 or 4 years. And I think it's all cyclical, because I know when I came in the league, I had a shitload to learn. I wasn't that good. I thought I knew it all, but I didn't. And it's going to take these guys time. You've had a lot of turnover. But Wacom, like, it's funny. Terry Gregson was the boss before Stephen Wacom. And under Gregson, I had worked 2 or 3 conference finals in a row. And Stephen Wacom took over, and I went 7 or 8 years first round and out. And I could never figure it out. You know, I was banging on the door for the finals, and now I can't get out of the first round. But even saying that, and I've told him this, he was the best boss I ever had. He communicates really well. He is constantly trying to teach our guys through video and supervision. He does a great job. And trust me, it is not an easy job. Like, he's getting phone calls from GMs every night. Somebody's pissed off about a call late in the game, and it's a difficult job. I would not want to have it.
Did he tell you, like, when you were one and done those years, would he explain, okay, this is why you're not getting further gigs?
It didn't go down like that. You'd get an email and you weren't allowed to call, and it was frustrating.
He's like, you had 2 bottles of red wine on your Southwest flight.
Yeah.
We got a note from a passenger, so we're gonna sit you out this next.
You got dragged off the airplane in handcuffs by FBI agents. You're not reffing this.
78 straight penalties against the Tampa Bay Lightning, Tim. Yeah.
There were a few games or a few flights that I needed. I definitely needed the wheelchair to help me get the baggage claim. Okay.
Says it took 3 days.
And then I wake up in the morning. I'm like, how did I get my bags, get an Uber or a taxi, get to the hotel, check in, and get to my room? I seriously don't remember a lot of it.
How did you decide to become a referee? Like, did you play hockey growing up? Was it ever like a dream of yours to become a referee? And
no.
Let's hear the whole story.
Yeah. So I grew up in New Brunswick on the east coast of Canada, up above Massachusetts and Maine, and grew up in a small town, 1,500 people. Grew up in a trailer park, was left at an orphanage when I was a kid, got adopted. Like I said, grew up in the trailer park. And in the summertime, I was 13 years old. And, you know, there was this country club beside us. And certainly we weren't the members. We lived on the wrong side of the highway for the country club. And mom and dad one day said, why don't you go get a caddying job and make some extra money? So I walked over and got a caddying job, and eventually worked in the pro shop and cleaning clubs and that. And then, so fast forward, the wintertime rolled around, and now I was missing that, having that money. And they're like, why don't you ref the little kids, the 6, 7, 8-year-olds? And because I was 13, I was a peewee, and I was always a good skater, but I was small and didn't have very good hands, but I was a good skater. And so I started reffing just for extra money. And then my late teens, senior hockey was really big in the Maritimes back then. Senior hockey. I don't know if you guys remember the name Jerry Fleming. He was a tough guy. He played for the Montreal Canadiens. He played in the AHL first, beat the shit out of Link Gates one night in the AHL. And yeah, I was at the game and he pummeled Link Gates. He fought him twice, once in Cape Breton, then the next night or 2 nights later back in Fredericton. Link was playing for Cape Breton Oilers. And we all know the reputation Link Gates has. And 2 nights later, Jerry Fleming was called up to Montreal. So we had all these guys. Ivan Votor played for New Jersey. We had all these guys played senior hockey, and senior hockey was fun back then, like fucking bench clearing brawls every night. There was this rink in my hometown called the Lord Beaverbrook Rink. It held about 1,000 people. And on a Friday or Saturday night, they would be throwing pint bottles on the ice. You couldn't see up in the stands because everyone was smoking cigarettes. That was just like, I have like some of my best memories of refereeing are actually, obviously in the NHL, but back in those senior hockey days, those guys were men, boys. They were tough and they were fucking kicking the shit out of each other and then going to work the next day. And so that's kind of when it took off. And then I worked for a bank in New Brunswick, and the company that I worked for, CIBC, transferred me to Toronto, and then I got in the OHL, and then they scout, especially in back then when I was in the Maritimes, they didn't have the Quebec League, so they weren't scouting for referees down there. So when I got in the OHL, John D'Amico, Brian Lewis, all these ex-refs worked for the league, and they would come out and watch my games, Dave Newell, and then that was how I got put on the map.
Tim, I want to get to the situation. Well, not situation. When you and Greg Wyshynski, a reporter, had a shot and he put it on Twitter. What did the NHL say to you? What was their big beef that you actually sat down with, a reporter and had a drink with him? What was their complaint to you?
Well, I always wanted to ask Gary, because I talked to Gary Bettman several times after that. I'd see him at training camp. Him and I would always talk, and I always wanted to ask him, Gary, because it was a tequila shot, right? If it was a glass of red wine, would it have been as bad as a tequila shot? But it was the whole perception. And Greg and I are friends now, and we text and so on. And he was a reporter that just wrote articles about me every game. And when I got picked for the Olympics, he wrote a big article about me. And it was just it was always a Tim Peel thing. It wasn't any other refs. And I didn't profess to be the best ref in the league. I wasn't Andy Van Helleman, but we have 34 refs that we take every year to the league or to the playoffs. And I was always in the top 20, and I'd work the playoffs every year, whether it be the first round, second round, third round, whatever. So I was one of the guys that Coley and Steven could count on to work the playoffs. But according to his reports, I was the worst ref in the league, and I didn't understand it. So he's doing this podcast with Jeff Merrick, and I know Jeff well. And Jeff's like, I got to get you guys together. You guys got to sit down. And so we sat down, and I never really got to the point where, why are you writing about me? But we drank and we watched hockey one night at Foley's Bar in Manhattan. And we've all probably been there. And at the end of the night, we take a tequila shot. The bartender takes a picture, takes a tequila shot, and he puts it on social media. And it wasn't his fault. Like I was, I didn't tell him not to. And so the next morning, I wake up in Times Square at the hotel, and Wacom calls me, and he's like, we got a problem. He goes, and we weren't, I wasn't on social media then. As a ref, you're not allowed to be on social media. And I'm sure our guys have fake accounts, but even back then, because that's going back 2015, I don't even think I had a fake account. And so he sent it to me, and I'm like, oh, fuck, this is not good.
You're like, oh, I was just on a Southwest flight. What are you talking about?
So he's like, Steven's really cool. He's an awesome boss, and he really protects our guys. He's like,
good guy.
You know what? I think I can smooth this over. I think I can smooth this over. I'll handle it. 45 minutes later, he calls me up. He goes, you got to call Coley Campbell, right? He goes, you got to call Coley. So I call Coley up, and Coley's like, you can't worry about what these reporters say. Coley was awesome during the whole time. And he goes, you can't worry about what these reporters say. People write shit about me all the time because of Gregory. And so then about 20 minutes later, Walken calls. He goes, you've been suspended for a game. You've been taken off the game in Jersey tonight. And I was like, no, please don't do it. Please. And he's like, we got to protect the Shield. And now I look back at the time because it killed me, because it was embarrassing to me and my family, and it really hurt. But I understand now. I was telling a story on the golf course the other day. Someone asked me about it, and I said, say I go out that night and I miss a couple calls, or I call a couple penalties that aren't very good or whatever. All the reporters are going to write is he's fucking hungover. He was out drinking all night. So they did the right thing. As much as it hurt at the time, it was the right thing to do, but it stung, I think they fined me 10 grand and suspended me a game.
Oh my God. Are you fucking kidding me? 10
No.
G's?
Hey, I know you said you guys are buddies, but what the hell's he throwing that on the internet for? Like, let's be honest. You didn't tell him not to, but come on.
After ripping you, he cost you 10K. Did he help you with the fine or no?
I don't know.
Right.
Listen, I don't, you know what?
That's an absolute shriveling by him.
Oh,
He
yeah,
fucked you every which way.
Hey, Peeler, you got a better story involving alcohol in Nashville with the Arizona Coyotes.
Oh my God. You were on that trip. Hey?
I don't think anybody who's listening would know that story other than the people who were in that bar.
Nobody is going to know this story. Nobody in hockey knows the story. We kept it hush hush.
This is my 4th year in the league. We're in Nashville for our rookie party, and then Peeler, take it away.
What year would that have been, Kat?
Probably 2013, maybe 2000.
Okay.
Yeah, 2013.
So I think it was 2012, 2013. We're in the preseason, and Rafi hits
Rafi Torres. Yeah.
Rafi hits a player from Anaheim, blindsides him, gets suspended for 40 games. And I call the penalty. I call a match penalty for illegal hit to the head. This is a preseason. He gets suspended 40 games, and he comes back. We're now at I'm refereeing San Jose in Nashville. After the game, we go out drinking at the stage. We don't even know Arizona's in town. Arizona is there 2 days early to have your rookie dinner, right? And so at the stage, you know how they have that landing at the very top. And we walk in and we're drinking, and Scott Mellenby's the assistant GM of Montreal, and Mel and I are good buddies. So he meets us for a drink, and I'm there with Dean Morton, Dave Brisebois, and the other linesman. And we're drinking, and all of a sudden I feel this fucking like water, like liquid. It keeps hitting me in the face and the head. And I'm looking around. I'm like, who's throwing water or booze at me? So finally I look upstairs and I see Rafi, and he's fucking laughing his head off, and I snap. And Mel goes right to Donor, because Mel, knows Donor well. He goes right to Donor, and I go up the stairs, and they're trying to stop me. And I'm like, fuck you guys. And I go right over now players are getting between Rafi and I. And I go, what the fuck are you doing? He goes, what? I'm not doing anything. I go, you're fucking throwing beer on us, on the referees down below. He goes, fuck you, Peels. I go, fuck you, Rafi. And we're just, everyone's fuck you. And it's a shit show. So I come back downstairs. I've cooled off, and I go to the crew. I go, you guys can stay, but nothing good is going to come out of this. And I hop in a cab and I go back to the hotel. So the next morning, being the senior guy on the crew, I go, breakfast, 8 a.m. We got to discuss this, because Terry Gregson was the boss at the time. I go, we need to discuss this and figure out where we're going to go on this, because we need to get ahead of this. Like, we can't have him find out about it without us telling him, because he's going to think we were drunk at the bar and it's all our fault. And so we're talking about it, and finally they go, Dean Morton goes, Peelsy, I think you should phone Terry and tell him. I'm like, oh fuck, I gotta call him and tell him, right? So I phone Terry, and Terry's a great guy, but the first thing he says is, what were you doing at the bar? I'm like, well, we were having a few beers after the game. Like it wasn't 3 a.m. It was 11 o'clock at night. So the league gets involved, and is it Don Maloney or Dave Maloney?
Don.
Don was the GM of Arizona at Phoenix at the time. And he calls me up and he's like, awesome. He's like so apologetic. He's like, Timmy, I'm sorry. And he even said, he goes, Rafi, he's had his problems with alcohol and he's been off and on, and he just kind of fell off the wagon. And I said, hey, trust me, I've been there. Don't worry about it. And he goes, do you want me to suspend him for a couple games? I go, no. I go, fuck. I go, trust me, I've done a lot of fucking stupid things at a bar. I go, not a chance. I don't want you to suspend him. But he made Rafi call me and apologize. And of course I was like, Raf, it's no big deal. Like at the time it was, but the next day we laughed about it. And, he probably hates me, but
you're like, I'm still going to fuck you over on calls, but don't worry about it.
Right.
Better than a two-handed of the teeth, I guess.
Yeah.
But man, you talk about guys like when he blew up Hossa that year in Chicago, there aren't a lot of guys in this league. Matt Cook was one of them. Dallas Drake back in the day, catching guys in the neutral zone. Rafi, there's an art to that. And he, you know what, whether you like him or not, he was good at it and he could blow guys up.
Tim, I suppose we got to get to the push of the program that's probably not comfortable for you. The hot mic in Detroit, the Nashville situation.
What happened?
A lot of people think you were just doing your job, doing what you were taught, and felt you were a scapegoat. We want your perspective on it. Obviously, you didn't know you were on a hot mic, but were you just doing what you were taught, or the system you were brought into? Is that all you were kind of abiding by, and you happen to be on a hot mic?
No. So first of all, and I appreciate you asking the question and the way you phrased it, but it's not uncomfortable for me anymore. And before I get into the story, when they told me I wasn't working again, well, I'll get into that in a second. So that afternoon, just to give the listeners a little bit of history on it, Pete Rogers is the longtime equipment manager for the Nashville Predators. I was with Pete back in Rochester in the American League days. And as Witter and Biz know, these equipment managers, they get paid decent now, but they don't get paid what refs get paid or what players get paid. And they do a lot of shit for the players and the refs. And so Pete and I had formed this friendship over the years. So that afternoon, I actually went out to the wine store, bought him a nice bottle of Camus wine. Before the game, I walked down, I give it to Pete in his office. And Todd Richards is there, the assistant coach. And I've known Richie for years, and, I got a chew in my mouth and a coffee, and we sit down, the three of us, and we're just shooting the shit about hockey and kids and horseback riding and just nothing to do with the game, just life. And I'm like, Pete, I'm probably not going to see you again. This is one of my last games. I don't think I'm going to see Nashville anymore. And I just wanted to thank you for everything you've done for me in my career. And so I leave the room. Now, think about that. Like, I left the room and I go, I'm going to go out and fuck Nashville tonight. Like, it's stupid. It's asinine. And first of all, any good ref in the league doesn't last as long, not just as me, but as, guys that had long careers. If you're out there to get certain guys, you just don't last. And so we go out and do the game, and there was one penalty at that point against Detroit, and Arvidsson, I thought he kicked the feet out from the Detroit player. And as I'm going to the box, I see the replay, and he didn't kick his feet out. He really, I think he hip checked him. So I was embarrassed by the call, because I had always, we make a lot of shitty calls over our career, but the good ones take a lot of pride in the calls that you do get wrong. And so I go over to the penalty box, and I go to Kelly Sutherland, who to me, him and Wes McCauley are the two best refs in the NHL right now. And Kelly and I had been friends back when we were, coming up, way before we were coming up in the NHL. And Kelly turned out to be one of the best refs. So I came over, and it was more me and my pride going, yeah, it wasn't much, Sudsy, but I wanted to get a penalty against, because Nashville was really good and Detroit was really bad. And I figured, I think it was 1-0 or 2-0 at the time. I figured Nashville was going to win the game. And I'm thinking, you know what? It was a bad call, but I wanted to get one early against Nashville in case we didn't have an opportunity to get a penalty against them the rest of the game. And I was embarrassed by the call, and my verbiage just came out wrong. And so the game ends, and we go nobody says anything. The Nashville wins the game, and we sit down in the Nashville locker room, and my phone's vibrating. And I look, and it's Wacom, and I show the phone to Sudsy, and I go, what? He never calls that quick after a game. And so initially I thought, was there a goal scored tonight that Hockey Ops didn't pick up on? Did it cross the line? Did we miss something? And he goes, we got a big problem. And I go, what's that? He goes, you're caught on a microphone saying you wanted to get a fucking penalty against Nashville. And I go, fuck me. He goes, I'll send it to you. So I hang up, and Sudsy and the two linesmen are looking at me, and they go, what's going on? I go, and I swear to God, I'm an open book. I go, I may get fired tonight. And they go, what? They couldn't believe it. And I go, I may get fired tonight. And you got to keep in mind, this is March 23rd. My last game is April 24th in St. Louis. And the Blues had already done tickets up. Tim Peel's final game had 160 people coming. It was a 2:00 start, which was perfect because we were going to get good and shit faced after the game. We still had the party at my golf club. But it was perfect. 2:00 start. And so we go back to the hotel room. I'm on the phone with Steve, and I'm on the phone with Wes, because Wes is the president of our association. And Wes is like, you're not getting fired. We're going to work on it, blah, blah, blah. So I don't even phone my wife. And because I know she's in bed, she doesn't stay up watching hockey. And so I get up in the morning, and they've already told me, you're not going on to Dallas, book a flight home. So I book a flight home. I'm at the airport in Nashville, and my flight's at 8:15. Phone rings at 7:30, and it's Wacom. And he goes, hey, where are you? I said, I'm at the airport. He goes, I hate to tell you this, but you've worked your last game in the National Hockey League. So I go, so this is, it's not funny.
I got a month left. Like, fuck.
I know. So it's not funny, but just to know, so you guys know where my mindset was. When I got suspended for the game, I said, don't do it. Please, I can work tonight. Please don't take me off the game. I was groveling to them to not do what they did. When Wacom, and you can ask him this, it's the honest to God story. He goes, you've worked your last game in the National Hockey League. I go, okay, thanks. I got to let you go. I got to get on a flight. And that's the only thing I said, because I knew the decision was made. I knew it was done. So I get on the flight, and I don't know that the league's going to release a statement. So while I'm in the air, my wife is now getting all these text messages from everybody going, I'm so sorry. I feel bad. And she's like, what the fuck are you guys even talking about? She doesn't even know. So I land, and of course I call her, and she's crying, and it's a shit show. So, but it's funny because as I'm driving home from the airport, and I was doing really good, like, because I didn't feel at all like I did when I got suspended for doing the tequila shot. When I got suspended for doing the tequila shot, and you guys, I'm sure, have all fucked up in your life, and you get that pit in your stomach that you just can't get rid of for a couple of days, and it just will not leave you. I had that pit in my stomach from the tequila shot, but I didn't have a pit in my stomach because I knew what I said I didn't mean. And I knew much worse has been said on the ice than what I said. but in the world we're living in now and cancel culture and so on, boom, you're done. So I'm driving home and I get this call from a Columbus number, and it's David Clarkson. And I don't know if you guys ever played with David. He played in Toronto, Columbus, Jersey, and then one other team. And
I saw him in Vegas. He looks like he's 23 years old right now. Fucking guy.
And he hated fucking referees, hated them. And him and I got more fuck you contests on the ice. Like, he literally hated refs. So I answer the phone because it was a Columbus number. And I go, hello. And he goes, hey, Tim, it's David Clarkson. And for a split second, I thought he was going to say, it looks fucking good on you. I never liked you. I did. So I go, hey, David, how you doing? He goes, good. I'm retired now. Well, I'm retired, but I'm living in Denver now. I was skating with some ex-players today. And I just want you to know, we were just talking in the dressing room. We think what the league has done to you is a travesty. And he says, I want to tell you something. He goes, I know I was difficult to referee, but he said they'd always have the names of the officials written in the dressing room before the game. And he goes, whenever I saw your name, I knew the game was going to be reffed fair. And I had one of the best referees for the game that night. And he goes, I just wanted you to know that. And boys, it almost made me cry because it meant so much to me. And I was pretty emotional at that point, but it almost, because it's easy for your friends to call you and say, oh, I'm sorry. And blah, blah, blah. You're great and whatever. But for a guy that I didn't even think ever liked me to reach out to Marty Brodeur to get my number and to call me, it meant a lot to me. It meant a lot as far as how I was thought of in the league. And then the phone calls, from Brian Burke and Lou Lamorello and Daryl Sutter and Dallas Eakins and on of players and current players and ex-players and coaches and GMs and presidents of clubs that were calling me and going, is this a fucking joke? So it was a rough day, but I didn't feel sorry for myself. And the only time, because social media, as you guys know,
toxic.
It was unbelievable. Like, what are they talked about?
They wanted you dead.
Yeah. You would have thought that I seriously killed somebody in a DUI. I got charged with domestic abuse, or I used a racial slur, like some things that you may never recover from. I just said the wrong thing. But it was on Fox, it was on CNN, it was on People Magazine, it was on the Golf Channel. My buddy calls me, goes, you were just on the Golf Channel. Like, they never talk about hockey on the Golf Channel. And I'm not bragging about that, but I'm just saying how big of a story that it became. It just kept building and building. So I fly home, and I get home, and Tisha, my wife, she's with Biz. She's 11 years younger than me. No big deal, She was 29. I was 40 when I was chasing her in St. Louis. So she's crying. She's upset. And then, so I'm talking to Chaser and obviously a bunch of the Blues alumni that morning. And so then 1:30 in the afternoon, Chaser calls me, goes, I got some bad news to tell you. I said, you got some fucking bad news to tell me. I said, have you seen the day that I'm having? He goes, Bobby Plager just got killed in a car accident. I'm like, fuck.
Oh, is that day?
Oh,
it was that day. So social media was going crazy in St. Louis. And then all of a sudden Bobby passed away. And Chaser later, I talked to him a couple hours later, and he goes, because Bobby was the best, he's just a tremendous guy, and he loved my kids. And Chaser goes, Bobby loved you so much, he thought he'd take the heat off you today. Oh. So my kids come home from school, and I get down on one knee, and I'm talking to them because, they're 9 and 7, they're not big. And I go, I've got something to tell you. I go, and I start crying, I go, your dad's not reffing in the NHL anymore. And still chokes me up, because that's honestly, like, to this day, that's the only thing that bothers me is Bronson and Brielle really wanted to see their dad work a final game. And I've seen some guys retire over the last few weeks, and the players are hugging them. And I've seen pictures of the kids in their dressing room. And for me not to get that and I'm the one that did it. Nobody else did it. I'm the one that did it. But for me not to be able to experience that and share that with them. So I start crying, and then I tell the kids that Bobby had passed away. So it was rough, but you know what? Joel Quenville called me. Roenick called me. Everyone was calling me. And they're like, Peelsy, you're going to be fine. You're going to be fine. One thing Joel did say, and Roenick said the exact same thing. That's why I brought them both up at the same time, is they go, you know what's funny? They go, you were well known before, but like it or not, you're really well known now. and hopefully you can maybe monetize off of this come, in a while. So I'm driving just to finish it up, I'm driving my daughter out to horseback riding that afternoon after she gets finished school. And we're driving out. She's 7 at the time, my little peanut Brielle. And we're driving out, and she's in the back seat, and she goes, Dad, can I ask a favor? I said, yeah, baby girl, what do you need? She goes, can you tell people that you weren't fired by the NHL? And I'm like, fuck. Like, take the fucking knife out of my heart, right? Like, I'm like, ugh. That's the only thing that bothers me. And like I said earlier, I was adopted. I grew up in a trailer park. Then my adopted mom died of cancer at age 50. Like, my whole life has been about resiliency and perseverance and getting kicked in the teeth and so on. And then, a couple of weeks after that, Tisha goes to me, she goes, you're doing really good. Like, you're not upset. And I go, babe, first of all, my history, my background. I go, but I've got an example to set for Bronson and Brielle that are 7 and 9. I go, you're going to get kicked in the nuts a lot in your life. And basically it's how you come out on the other side of it. And we had a house party. We had people over at our house a couple of weeks after my incident. And I could tell everybody was they didn't know what to say. So finally I said, hey, I'm fine. Everything's good. Don't worry about me. And this one guy, Andy Kaiser, and it always chokes me up when I tell this, but he looked at me and he said it in front of everybody. He goes, Peelsy, you're not our friend because you were an NHL ref. You could have been a fucking garbage man. You're our friend because of who you are as a person. And so at the end of the day, it's you know what? Nobody cares. It's done with. And it's about how I live the rest of my life. And I'm not going to let a 2-second audio clip define who I am or bring down my entire career.
I guess I got to follow up, Tim. Awesome. I feel like they, personally, they should have made you a scapegoat, because you can't be the first guy to utter those words on the ice, and they happen to get picked up on a mic that was left on. I mean, other guys must have said that. Did you feel like they were sort of making you a scapegoat for some shitty officiating, and okay, here's an excuse and we can get rid of him? I mean, it just seems like you paid the price much higher than you would not deserve, that you even should have gotten.
I think a lot of it was just prior to that. They had just brought on some gambling partners, Bally Sports, Fox Sports is now Bally Sports.
Yes.
I think I know a big part of it was, hey, to our gambling partners, our referees do not referee like this, because I think I think if it had happened 10 years prior, I would have got a slap on the wrist, maybe suspended a couple of weeks, who knows? But I think it was the perfect storm. Peelsy's retiring in 4 weeks. We signed on the gambling partners. We're just going to we're going to set them aside and move on. So, like, I talked to Bill Daly 3 or 4 times on the phone since this has happened. And I'm not bullshitting when I say this. It's a complete truth. Everything I have is because of the National Hockey League. Gary and Bill were phenomenal to me during my career through my ups and downs and so on. And I said this the other day to some friends of mine. I go, it's weird. A lot of guys in our business leave the business bitter. And they're bitter they didn't get one more final. They're bitter they didn't work the playoffs the last couple of years. For whatever reason, they leave this game bitter.
Same as players.
Yeah, same as players.
A lot of players are like that.
And Witter, I said, I will never, ever leave this game bitter. That sucks to live your life like that. And everything I have is they're not the ones that said the stupid comment. I'm the ones that said the stupid comment. It's not their fault that I said it. Do I wish it was handled differently? Yeah, of course I do. I would have loved to have finished and so on. But at the end of the day, we need more accountability in our life. Everyone wants to blame everybody else for everything. And no, I was the one that said it. I made a mistake, but you learn from it. So.
Peeler, to bring it to a more positive note, you did get to ref in 1,000 games, and I think that happened in 2015. For referees, do they get you guys like a silver whistle? What's the gift for a referee refereeing his 1,000th game?
No, the league gives us. They give you what do they give us? I think it's for 1,000 games. They give us a ring, but yeah, it is a ring. It is a ring because I remember another Walt story. I was so proud when I had this ring, and I'm wearing it one day, and Walt, he called me out. He goes, "Seriously, are you wearing your fucking high school ring?" He goes, "That thing is so small. It looks like a high school ring." And I was like, I looked at him like, yeah, it does look like a high school ring. It was embarrassing.
Should have said it. At least they got one.
And
all right. Now we're not going to get Walt on again, you fucking asshole.
Come on. Walt's not a baby. He'll come back.
Yeah.
So no, you know what? They do a great job. You bring my wife and kids came on the ice. My kids were young at the time. We're holding them up, and it's a whole nice thing. And I was looking forward to that for my final game too, with all the friends and family. And Walt was going to be there, and he came to my party anyway. And Doug Armstrong came, and Al McGinnis, and a lot of nobody. It's funny because at the end of the day, nobody really gave a shit because nobody emailed us or sent us a message and said, you know what, you kind of got caught in a scandal. We can't come to your party anymore. Everybody showed up for the party because, shit happens. So.
Another one too is I read this on the internet. Did you actually ref in Gordie Howe's last game?
I did. That's funny that, it's downstairs in the basement. I've got this picture of Gordie Howe. And it's he was playing for the Detroit Vipers. And do you remember that? He wanted to play, and I'm trying to find the picture here, but they wanted him to play. It was a publicity stunt, and they wanted him to play 5 decades of hockey. And so he was playing for the Vipers. And as we're coming out, I was in the IHL. I wasn't under contract yet with the NHL. And we're walking off the ice, and one of his handlers, she had a one of those Polaroid cameras, disposable ones. And I said, "Could you take a picture of Mr. Howe and I?" So I put my arm around him, and it's a picture of him in his Viper jersey, and somehow we connected, and she got me the picture. And yeah, it's an awesome photo downstairs. But it sucks because I should have reached out back then to get it autographed, and I waited too late, and I reached out to Mark Howe, and Mark's like, "Peelsy, he's so sick right now." He goes, I can't. I said, "No," I said, "I totally understand." So, but it's still a great photo to have.
That's unreal. What about some other stories that like pop out in your head of your time in the NHL about, that you can share at least? Because I'm sure there's some that happen behind the scenes. You got to keep a little bit tight-lipped, but any ones that are popping out that you want to share?
You know what? I remember, I love the game. I love the game in the early 2000s when, I heard somebody say today on the NHL Network how nobody hits anymore. And until the playoffs, nobody hits until the playoffs. And I do see that a lot. We need more physicality in our game. But I remember it was when Lindros got traded to Toronto, or he left Philly for Toronto. And it was his first game back in Philly. And we get there, and it was Toronto and Philly. And we walk, we go down the tunnel there in Philly, and all the fans are up top, and they've all got their Lindros jerseys on with an X through his number. Like he was despised, he was the villain. And I'm working with Don Van Massenhoven, and we're sitting there before the game. And, you think about these players, boys, Darcy Tucker, Shane Corson, Ty Domi, you know, then on Philly, you had the Legion of Doom. And like, that was tough hockey back then. And we're sitting there, and all of a sudden because we're watching the pregame warm up on the TV, and we look up and you see they're all at center ice, and I forget who fought, but there's 2 or 3 fights going on. And we're in the dressing room going, this is going to be fucking awesome tonight. Like as a ref,
that's sick.
Yeah, as a ref, you get pumped up for it. You like, I remember, and Witter, your buddy Chris Rooney, you live in the same neighborhood.
Yeah.
Is your house still that yellow house?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a beautiful house. So I drove by it there a couple of years ago, and that's the high end rent district of Massachusetts where Witter and Rooney live. Okay, so
I ain't renting this fucking thing out. If I'm renting this thing out, things went sideways.
Hey, he's pissed at Whit because Whit was chirping him about a bad call earlier this year. So I think
I was doing what was I? What call was that? I didn't even know it was him. I was all over the worst.
He's sensitive though. He's sensitive.
He lit shit on his doorstep.
He gives me shit. You know what? He pulled up to me and he goes, "Oh, fucking Spittin Chiclets," and he was on speakerphone with Wes. I go, "What's up, Wes?"
So yeah, we were doing a game. Rooms and I were doing a game. It was a few years ago, and him and I were going on a good run, and it was games. It was the last game 7 actually ever of that Philly and the Rangers have ever had. And we're in the dressing room an hour and a half before the game. And this is why, like, I'm so excited, like, to watch, like, I want to watch the Blues tonight against Colorado. I want to watch Dallas against Vegas. Can't believe Vegas is probably going to miss the playoffs. So it's unbelievable. And so we're doing game 7 at Madison Square Garden. Now think about this, like, maybe it wasn't as big a deal. Well, it was a big deal for Chris. He came from Southie, but I came from a small town in New Brunswick, and now I'm working game 7 at Madison Square Gardens, the most famous building, one of the most famous buildings in the world, and it's Rangers Philly. And an hour and a half before the game, they are chanting, "Let's go Rangers." Like, we're sitting in the room, like, you just, like, I didn't have to take a Red Bull to get ready for this game. It's like we came out of the fucking tunnel and we're like, let's go. And we kind of, I don't know. I forget if Runes and I moved on or not, because I don't know if we called the standard that night, because we called one penalty and it was against Zach Ronaldo for interference. He blew somebody up that didn't have the puck, and I love Zach. Jogger. And yeah. And we called one penalty the whole game. We just let him play back and forth. And it's games like that I remember.
Tim, you also scored a goal inadvertently.
Roberto
Luongo. We got to bring that up.
More than me in my career.
I mean, that's an unbelievable story. Like, you know, I'm working the game. I think it was December 13th or 19th. And the Blues were struggling. I think it was in early January. It's when Sanford and Bortuzzo fought, and then they obviously went to Philly and went to that bar and played Gloria. But I think it was December 19th. It was a few days before Christmas. And Bortuzzo's shooting the puck in, and usually as a defenseman, shoot it around the wall or you shoot it at the net. And he just shot it at the back boards. And I saw it coming towards me, and I knew it wasn't that hard. And I knew it was at waist level. I couldn't jump and I couldn't duck. So I just kind of let it hit me. And picture this, it hit me in the left hip, and the net is over here to the right of me. And it was like the JFK shooting, like everyone's trying to solve it, because it hits me on the left hip and literally goes all the ways across the goal line and goes in on Luongo. So I kind of fall back. I hit my head on the boards, but not that hard, but I had to milk it a little bit. And Ray Barilli, the trainer for St. Louis, comes out and he goes, "Peels, first I'm on all fours and I hear the horn go off that the Blues have scored." And the linesman comes over, Ryan Galloway, he goes, "Are you okay?" I go, "Yeah, I am, but did that fucking puck go in the net?"
I'm watching it right now. It's fucking
and I'm
unbelievable.
I'm down on all fours
like when
this.
I took off Fleury. It's amazing. Same corner.
I'm down on all fours. I go, "Did that fucking puck just go in the net?" He goes, "Yeah, it did." I go, "Fuck me." So Ray comes out. He goes, "You okay?" I said, yeah, I think I need to leave the ice for a few minutes. Like,
oh yeah.
I had to gain my composure. I'm like, what the fuck just happened here? So I go in and I almost failed the concussion protocol test because I'm an idiot. I couldn't remember the question. I couldn't remember what I answered back at training camp. So I come back on the ice and the whole Enterprise Center in St. Louis, they're all standing, giving me a standing ovation. And Panger's on doing the play-by-play going, Tim Peel's back in the play. And I came on as the play was going on, like I was doing a line change. And so we get a whistle and I go down to Luongo and Robert, as you guys know, like there aren't any better than Roberto Luongo. He's just the best. And he goes, Peelsy, are you okay? I go, Lou, I am. And you know what? For the rest of my career, I'm going to be able to say I scored on Roberto Luongo. And I said it just like that, right? So after the game, the off-ice officials come in, and you can't read it, but there's the puck and St. Louis Blues. And they put around it a piece of tape going, first goal of his career, game number, whatever. So anyway, so I get home that night, and Tisha's like, because we had the Wyshynski thing, and I've had other things in my career, and I kind of always seem to be in the
mix,
in the media, yeah. And she goes, "You're unbelievable." She goes, "You're the first ref to score a goal." She goes, "You scored in your hometown of St. Louis for the Blues," and so I'm sitting there and I'm pounding the wine pretty good at this point because I need to get a little buzz on to kind of decompress. And Gretz texts me, and I can't remember what Hully's stats are, Biz, but we'll say it's 750 goals. It's 7 something. And Gretz texts me and he goes, Peelsy, you only need 749 now to catch Hully.
And then you get presented with another ring at the end of the season. That was it was not the fight in practice that did it. It was you were the fucking spark plug.
That's what I always tell Bortuzzo. Exactly. I said, that's what changed the season around. So now my phone is just like going crazy. It's like blowing up. So Brad Kovacic, a linesman, he loves the Today Show and he loves Savannah Guthrie. And so he calls me in the morning. He goes, "You have to turn on the Today Show right now." I go, "Why?" He goes, "They just talked about Trump and Putin. And then they said, when we come back from commercial, we're going to talk about a goal that was scored in St. Louis last night." He goes, "It's on the Today Show."
Holy shit.
It was unbelievable.
So you've hit every
You're
single
like Forrest Gump, dude.
Yeah. Time person of the year for fucking having a tequila shot in a bar with Wyshynski.
Now,
oh
Tim,
my God.
did they actually allow the goal? Because there's a sports that
No.
they didn't.
No, they didn't allow the goal.
Oh,
No,
so they screwed
didn't
you out
allow
of a goal.
Really?
No, it can't go in directly off me. If it had hit me and then a Florida defenseman and then it had gone in, then it counts. But if it goes off me and then directly,
all right, so what
wow.
happens if you're standing next to the net and a goalie makes a save and the rebound goes off you and back into the net? No goal.
no goal.
Wow.
That's a little interesting.
No goal.
So,
Can't go in off a referee.
I guess
Or a
it
linesman?
makes sense.
The last person that it can touch has to be a player.
Okay.
If it could go off my skate towards the goal and then off another player skating in the net, that would count. But it can't go off of me directly into the net.
Do refs and linesmen have a friendly rivalry, or is it just like a team concept all the time?
No, it's definitely a team concept, but it always bugs them that we get paid more than they do.
Yeah. It's like,
I always tell young kids coming up, I go, "Hey, you want to be a referee, okay? Like you don't want to be a linesman." But our guys are getting paid very well right now. But no, we're a team, and before Seattle came in, I would always say, "Hey, we're the 32nd team out here," and there's some ex-players that have become referees, and they're surprised by the closeness and the camaraderie that our guys have. And like I said, I'm still on this text thread. Sorry, I got braces put in behind my teeth a couple days ago, and I'm fucking lisping all the time. I feel like
Join the club, man. I can't talk regularly, so don't worry about it.
But no, we're still on this, I'm still on a text thread with a bunch of guys, and Derek Amell, he was one of the best linesmen. Witter, he lived in Pittsburgh when you were there. Big Derek, and his career got ended. He had to have his finger cut off 2 years ago. And I've known him since the OHL, since Oshawa. We came up together, and I trust him so much over my family that he's in charge of my estate if anything ever happens to my wife and I. So that's how much we love each other and care for each other.
I was just going to ask, was there any game in particular that sticks out the most, aside from some of the ones we've talked about? I know your first one was against in '99 against Colorado versus Ottawa. Are there any like specific games that you can really remember that are ingrained in your memory about why they're so special?
I think Witter was playing, actually. It was the first when you get picked for the playoffs, you're obviously excited and humbled because they only take the top 20 out of the 34. And you work game 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then the top guys start to work game 6, game 7. And the first game, so we were in our old house, and we had laptops back then instead of the iPads now, and you had to dial in and get your assignments and so on. And Dan O'Halloran texts me, and he's like, "Have you checked your computer?" And I go, "No." And this is how much, and I want people to understand, like, when we fuck up a call, we just don't go back to the hotel, get drunk, and go, "Oh, fuck it, it doesn't matter." Like, we care. Like, it's our pride. Like, we care for the game. We care for, both teams. We don't want to be the deciding factor. Like, it bothered me when I would mess up a call. Like, I remember I called a bad call against Boone Jenner once, and they killed off the penalty, and I came over to the bench, and I got another good Columbus story with Torts and Foligno. I come over to the bench and I go, "Where's Boone?" And Torts goes, "He's right there. He's right in front of Torts." And I go, "Fuck." I go, "I'm sorry, man." I go, "I thought you held him." And I go, "I'm really glad you killed it off." And as soon as you do that, what are they going to say? They're not going to say, "You're an idiot. You're a bad ref." They go right away. Cam Atkinson, all of them. They're like, don't worry about it, Peelsy." Right? Because you're humanizing yourself and going, "Man, I'm glad you killed off that penalty." And I remember a few months before that, I called a penalty against Nick Foligno in Montreal. And Nick, on the way to the box, is going, "You don't fucking respect me. You don't respect me." And it bothered me a lot because I respected Nick a lot. Because when I was in the American Hockey League, Mike Foligno, his dad, was the head coach in Hershey. And Mike was awesome to me. We'd make mistakes. We'd both make mistakes. He's like, "We're here together learning." So I always had a soft spot for Marcus and Nick when I came up to the NHL. And so it bothered me. So I finally get back to Columbus a few weeks later. I go down to the dressing room. I go to the guys that I'm working with. I said, "I'll be back." And I don't tell them what I'm doing. I go down the dressing room. I knock on Torts' door. Shazi opens it up, Brad Shaw. And I said, "Can you get Nick and bring him in?" And Shazi goes to get him, and he comes in, and I said, "Listen, what you said to me the other night about me not respecting you couldn't be further from the truth. You're the leader of this team. I love you. Like, I love how you play the game. You play it the right way. You know my history with your dad." I go, "I respect you so much. And for you to say that, you couldn't be further from the truth. And I want you to know that." And he gives me a big hug, and he leaves and goes to get dressed and ready for the game. And Torts goes, "We fucking need more of that. We need more of that. That's awesome. Like, we need that. We need the players and the refs to realize we care for each other. Like, we're not out there to fuck the players. We're out there to make it fair. We're out there to make it safe. And sometimes they're not going to disagree or agree with calls that we make, but we're not doing it to shove it up their ass. We're doing it because at the time we think it's the right thing to do." So Anyway,
I think this is great because I think a lot of the listeners are going to realize like how much refs care and maybe lay off them, especially on social media, and have a newfound respect for what you guys do. Whit, I don't know if you guys are okay with me asking and
On a
going
bet,
far-
Biz?
I know we've been going long, but maybe talk about a few of the other processes in order to maybe like get to the NHL, what you guys are doing in the off seasons in order to prepare and the process it takes to actually get to the NHL for a referee.
yeah. So no, that's a good question, Biz. So they have this combine now in Buffalo in August, and they've really been trying to attract ex-players into the game, guys that have played in the American League. Corey Servette's a ref. There's a bunch of new guys that have come on that played in the American League, played in the East Coast League, played D1, and it's a great way for them to stay involved in the game. But the reason that Wacom is approached it this way is the game. Like, let's be honest. My last year, I was 54 years old. I was 55 years old in April, and Connor McDavid's coming down the wing, and I'm feeling like I'm a fucking turnstile at the New York subway. Like, he's just whizzing by me, right? They're so quick right now. And I used this analogy the other day, and I know Witter and Biz can relate to this. I said, the only difference between fourth line players right now and first line players is skill set. It's not skating. Jonathan Tavares is not the best skater in the NHL. I guarantee you there are players on the fourth line that are better skaters than him. But the reason that he's a first line or second line player is because of his skill set. So the NHL has to hire guys that are athletes that can skate and keep up with these guys, because if not, it'll become too quick for them. So Wacom's done a good job. And trust me, the last couple of years that I was on staff and they were hiring guys, and they'd get undressed in the dressing room, and I'd be looking at them going, like, seriously, like, you look like an Abercrombie and Finch model. Like, seriously, like, you guys are just ripped. Like, they're all ripped. And you know, you guys watch hockey compared to baseball. You know, baseball, these guys have big drums on them, and I get it. They don't have to move that much and so on, but our referees are athletes, and now the job of Wacom and hockey ops is to teach them how to referee and how to referee at the National Hockey League.
Another one that Grinelli, you brought up before we got on, you said that right now there's a shortage of referees, maybe because of the verbal attacks they're taking, especially at the minor hockey league levels. Like, what your comments on that? Like, I don't know if you tweet your comments sometimes in relation to some of these incidents that end up popping online.
Yeah, no, that's a great point that Mike brought up, because I tweeted it out a month or so ago. There's this association in Ottawa, and they're making the referees wear green armbands if you're between 14 and 18 years old. And they're basically telling the parents, quit fucking yelling at the refs. These kids are 15, 16, 14 years old. And I know it's tough. Like Jamal Mayers and I, we at our first tournament in September at Grand Rapids, we were away with our team, and him and I were both yelling at the refs. And afterwards, I said, we can't do that. I said, we can't do that. A, we need to set an example for our kids. And I said, B, I run a ref school in September or in June here in St. Louis, because I'm trying to improve the officiating in St. Louis. And it's this is the third one that we've had this coming up, and we're trying to improve the officiating. But it is a problem, Biz, because in Massachusetts, Wiz, I read an article that they were this season they were 8,000 referees short from the previous year because of COVID, a lot of them quit. But a lot of kids are like, fuck this. I don't need to get yelled at by parents. And we've spoken to our parents and said, you do not yell at the refs. Let us handle it. But it is the biggest problem in minor hockey in Canada and in the US is the parents and the coaches yelling at the refs. And it's actually disgusting, because I see the way some of these parents and coaches yell. And I'm like, really? Like, would you talk to your own kid that way? It's and what example are you setting for your kid? A terrible example.
Yeah, it's been absolutely brutal here, Tim. They've laid off a bunch. Kids don't want to do it. But I wanted to bring up the recruiting of referees. I've talked to guys. They said that there might be a flaw in the recruiting process. Are they bringing in the next best guys who should be doing it? I've heard it might be political in nature, that they're bringing along guys who, because they know somebody, not so much of the qualifications. Can you speak to that, or is there any veracity?
No, I would say that's
Bullshit.
Yeah,
Okay.
I would say that's not accurate at all, because I know some guys that maybe have some hockey lineage to whether their dads played or worked for the league or whatever in different capacities, but they're not hiring guys just because he's so-and-so's son. He's got to be able to do the job, because if they don't, it's a bad for Steven. It's a bad move, because he's, it's his job to put the best team on the ice. And if he's not putting the best team on the ice, then he's going to have to deal with it at the GM's meetings. And I know that, I don't know why, and I don't think this year is any different than any other year. I've been listening to it for 20, 30 years. It's always complaining about the officiating in the NHL. And I hear some people go, well, just call it by the rule book. Just call the rule book. Well, really, like, those are people that really don't know hockey. Like, so you just want it to be black and white. You don't want any feel for the game. That's what makes a good ref. That's why Don Koharski and Kerry Fraser and Bill McCreary is probably the best ref in the NHL ever to lace him up. They had a feel for the game of when to call something and when to let something go. Guy gets tripped in the neutral zone. Do you really need to call it? It's not a scoring opportunity. He got tripped. It wasn't a change of possession. He got the puck back. There's a feel that you have for the game. It's not black and white. And we're not like basketball, where you can have 6 fouls in the last minute of a basketball game. Nobody even flinches. Nobody even talks about all those. Can you imagine if we called 5 penalties in the last 2 minutes of a hockey game? Oh my God, they'd be rioting. They'd be like, these guys are that. Then they'd be saying these guys suck. They're like, you can't have it both ways, guys. You have to know how to referee. There's an art to it. Chris Rooney's good at it. Kelly Sutherland, Wes McCauley. That's why they're good referees. There's an art to refereeing.
I know we kind of touched on it earlier, and sorry to hop in here again, because I've asked like 10 questions in a row. Going from regular season to playoffs, do you guys just have the mindset of even more so, we don't want to decide the game, so therefore the rules just it becomes a little bit more like prison rules? Is an easy way to describe it. No,
and you know what? This is good for you. This is good for you, Biz, and I'll send this to you because you can use this on TNT coming up. So in the last few seasons, the last 3 seasons, penalties in the regular season were 578, playoffs, 549 in the regular season, 595 in the playoffs. 595 in the regular season, 703 in the playoffs. 583 in the regular season, 632 in the playoffs. Okay, penalties per game. So this perception, now you have to take into a fact that we have overtime games and so on. I get that. So the numbers are a little skewed, but the perception is, to your point, that the referees put away the whistle. Well, there's the numbers right there. The numbers don't lie.
You're fucking hitting me with the stats, Peeler? Stat guy Wit over here.
But this is good.
Stat guy Wit.
But you know what? Next time they bring that up on TNT, you can use it and go, you know what? Actually, the referees, they've been calling it the same way. Now, the game is more physical and so on. But at the end of the day, I'm telling you right now, Stephen Walkham does not move guys on from the first round to the second round to the third round to the finals if they put their whistle in the pocket. My heart on the Bible, I can tell you that. I'm telling you, he will only move guys on that call the NHL standard that Gary and Bill expect.
And you keep saying with the moving on process, is this based on like, if let's say you make a bad call, is there like a scoring system for the officials?
I don't. It's not a scoring system. It's basically Steven. Steven, at the end of the day, he has his group of supervisors that will be out there in the playoffs. Don Van Massenhoven, Rob Schick, Mike Lego, Paul Dvorsky, so on and so forth. Bill McCreary. There's a series supervisor for every game. After that, Steven, first of all, I can tell you right now, he's in his basement right now in Pittsburgh watching all the games right now. He knows who's working good and who's not working good. He knows who he can trust and put in the playoffs, and guys that make soft penalties. And he goes, I can't trust that guy and put him in the playoffs. He makes too many weak calls. I can't put him in there. Then after the first round, he'll get together with the supervisor and say, this is who I like. Who do you guys like? This is who I want to move on, because they go from 20 to 12 to the second round. It's the biggest cut during the playoffs. Then you go 12 to 8, 8 to 5. So the tough part is making it from the first round to the second round, because they cut 8 guys. You don't want to be making shitty calls. If you're making shitty calls, you're getting sent home. And as a ref, I remember one year I had a couple goalie interference calls on both sides, and I got them both right. And I go, I'm moving on, because you want those. Like, as a ref, you want to catch a match penalty hit to the head. You want to get that double minor stick to the face. You don't want to miss a double minor stick to the face. Nobody sees it and the guy's bleeding, and it's a playoff game and the team should have had 4 minutes and you miss it. That's a bad feeling to have as a ref. But as a ref, you want to embrace, if those opportunities come to you, you're like, I'm ready. I'm ready to step up and make the right call and show him that you can put me in the third round of game 7 and I'll make the right call.
Love that. Makes a lot of sense. Peter.
I had one last one, boys. I don't know if you guys have.
Holy
go ahead,
fuck,
Biz.
I know I'm on a fucking roll right now.
No, it's interesting as hell. Go ahead, buddy.
Peeler, if you could go back, what was the greatest game you got to referee?
You know what? Besides the Olympics, the Olympics was probably the best, because growing up as a kid, watching the Olympics going, and then being there going, I can't believe I'm at the Olympics. That was probably
team who's spitting in my face. This is awesome.
That was probably the best feeling, being at the Olympics. But as far as the NHL, you can talk about playoff games and different things. At the end of the day, I would say my first game obviously meant a lot to me. I was nervous as hell. I was working with Don Van Massenhoven, Brad Kovacic, and the old linesman, Pat DiPuzzo. And they're like, hey, kid, you made it. Like, you made it to the show. And at the time, I can remember going, man, I hope I make it like 5 or 6 years. Like, I hope I can last a little while. And then all of a sudden you're able to celebrate your 1,000th game. And I was able to celebrate it here in St. Louis and with my family, even though my kids were young, but my wife and all my friends. It's kind of those milestones. It's really not a game 7 or a playoff game that you remember. It's kind of the milestone games. You're like, you know what? I never thought I'd make it this far, or and that's kind of, I obviously, if it was my last game, April 24th, that would have been something that I would have held up there high,
Well, I'll tell you what, if we ever end up in St. Louis for a Chiclets Cup ball hockey tournament, we'll make you the official referee of the whole tournament. And we're going to make sure you can go out in style, buddy. We'll get the whole fucking city there.
Show out to Pink Whitney will get him suspended for the final game.
I'm playing for Cooper's team.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, Peeler, thank you so much. That was really cool and interesting talking to you. And we'd love to catch up again. That was great.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. You know what? After you interviewed Gretzky the other day, I'm like, they're reaching out to me. They've got nobody else to reach out to right now. They are.
Yeah, we've hit the bottom of the barrel, buddy.
They're scraping the bottom of the barrel. So, no, you know what? I wanted to come on with you guys. I got a lot of respect for all you guys and what you guys have done. You guys have done a tremendous job, and more importantly, just know you're good people, and we have a lot of mutual friends, and I appreciate you guys having me on.
Yeah, just lay off me on Twitter if I say the wrong thing during the broadcast, for Christ's sake.
No, give it
Holy
to him.
fuck.
I love it.
Stop breaking trades and acquisitions like Kaner, you fucker. What are you, an insider now?
No, I'm not an insider. But you know what's so funny?
You're an outsider.
A lot of people were pissed off that I was tweeting that out. Like Evander Kane, and we'll finish this up. I met him at the Cove in Atlantis years ago, and we were partying all weekend. He had his girlfriend, I had my wife, and we had fun. And I know he's been through a lot of shit, but fuck, so have I. So has everybody else. Like, I'm not saying he's perfect at all. That's not what I'm saying. But we had kind of stayed in touch, and when he was going through his shit, I'd just text him every once in a while, say, "Hey, big boy, I'm thinking about you. How you doing?" And then when he came close to signing with Edmonton, he reached out. He goes, you're the only one that really ever contacts me. He goes, "You want to know what's going on?" And so I tweeted it out. And fuck, next thing you know, people are like pissed off that I'm tweeting out that he's going to Edmonton. I'm like, you know what? But guess what? I knew he'd be a good fit for that team. Oh, yeah. And he told me, and I don't think he'll be mad telling me, he goes, Leon and Connor both called me and said, "We want you to come to this team." Oh. And you know what?
Whit's got a full raging boner right now. You talking about this? And did he hit you with a Venmo request after, though?
No,
okay,
no.
All right, good. I was just checking. I just had to ask. No, but hey, I think he's got 22 goals now in 42 games or something like that with the Oilers. So he's been a huge addition. And hey, man, it's good to have stars in the game. And like you said, nobody's perfect, and we all make mistakes.
Exactly.
Maybe just don't take out as big of markers as he has.
Well, he won't. This is one last story. So we're at the Cove that week. It was the All-Star break, and Brandon Dubinsky and I are playing blackjack together. Tisha went up to bed, and I love playing blackjack, and we're playing $100 a hand. And I'm playing 100. Doobie's probably playing 300, 400, 500, whatever. And Doobie's got his hostess there, and him and I are getting on a roll. And he goes, every time Peelsy and I win, you get us a tequila shot. So we're like fucking pounding tequila. So Kaner comes over to Dubinsky. He goes, "Hey, I can't get any more money out of the ATM machine." He goes, "Can you give me $5,000?" And Doobie goes, "Fuck you." He says, "You make a shitload more than me. I'm not giving you fucking $5." So Doobie, I swear to God, goes, "Give me your Rolex." So he's got a gold Rolex on. So Kaner takes it off, gives it to Dubinsky. Doobie fucking rolls off 5G, gives it to Kaner. Kaner comes back about 30 minutes later. He's got 20, 30 grand, whatever. Gives Doobie back the $5,000, gets his Rolex back.
He's actually resale. Hey, I just checked online. Resale on these have gone up. I'm gonna need the full 20.
Is that hilarious?
That's some punch up shit right there.
Holy fuck, Peeler! Peeler, people are gonna be requesting you back if you keep ripping off these stories, man. You have to become a regular host.
You know what? Biz Panger said to me, we weren't allowed to get on social media till September 1. As a ref, like I had to wait until I was my official last paycheck was. And he goes, if you want to get into the media and you want to do this stuff, he goes, do not try to be somebody that you're not. And he goes, you're going to piss some people off like I did the other day with that tweet about Leah, and maybe I shouldn't have sent it. But he goes, don't try to be somebody you're not. Just be yourself. He goes, that's why people, Panger and I are best buddies. Like, be yourself, and we'll see how it works out. I'm having fun at it. And you know what? At the end of the day, I truly believe, I'm a big believer in things happen for a reason. And even though my incident happened, I'm like, you know what? Maybe if it didn't, maybe I'd just be an old retired referee that nobody even cares about anymore. So be a good person and be nice to people and just enjoy it.
Moral of the story, rip tequila shots and get sussied, folks. You're going to end up on Time Magazine Person of the Year.
And set up hot mics for yourself.
Yeah. Well,
all right, Peeler. Thanks so much, buddy.
This has been unreal. Thanks.
Thanks so much to Tim Peel for joining us. Pretty interesting guy. We really enjoyed talking to him. Hopefully you enjoyed the conversation. And his interview was also brought to you by Shopify. Shopify is the all-in-one commerce platform to start, run, and grow your business. Shopify gives entrepreneurs the resources once reserved for big business. So upstarts, startups, and established businesses alike can sell everywhere, synchronize online and in-person sales, and effortlessly stay informed. Shopify offers online retailers a suite of services, including payments, marketing, shipping, and customer engagement tools. Connect with your customers, drive sales, manage your day-to-day. Shopify instantly lets you accept all major payment methods. Shopify has thousands of integrations and third-party apps, from on-demand printing to accounting to advanced chatbots and beyond. So go to shopify.com/chiclets, all lowercase, for a free 14-day trial and get full access to Shopify's entire suite of features. Grow your business with Shopify today. Go to shopify.com/chiclets right now. All right, boys. Another week, another surprise firing of an NHL coach. This time, I'm going to call them the Vegas swipe rights now because they just don't seem to like anybody, Biz. They're at it again. They dug another hole out in the desert. This time, they shit-canned head coach Pete DeBoer after he failed to make the playoffs. Even though they gave away one of his goalies, had a bunch of injuries and whatnot. He did take them to the conference finals 2 years in a row, but he's gone. I don't know what the deal is here. He had 1 year left on his deal. Obviously, I'll have no problem getting a job after this. GM Kelly McCrimmon didn't elaborate on the firing, but did say, I don't know how you can say that Pete DeBoer's tenure in Vegas was anything but successful. He still shit-canned them. They're like the Goldilocks of the NHL. Like, this coach is too small. Like, this play is too big or too slow. They just, I don't know what it is with this team, man. They can't get consistency. Like, you think guys are not going to want to go there, or they won't care because it's Vegas? It's just, this team's reputation is taking a weird hit.
He was a scapegoat. He was a scapegoat. And that quote from McCrimmon, RA, I think that, to me, pretty loudly says this is on the owner, Foley, deciding, I don't want this guy to coach anymore. I mean, the full quote was, since joining the organization, Pete and his staff have guided us through some of the most unique and challenging circumstances we've witnessed since our franchise entered the NHL. Like, and you're firing him? Foley had $92 million to the paying this year, which is $10 million like over the cap. And they didn't make the playoffs. They missed by 3 points with all these injuries. They were playing all these guys that probably wouldn't be in the NHL without the injuries and the cap issues. And they gassed their coach. It's the same shit over and over, like you said. Nothing's ever good enough. And someone will get that job, and someone will be fired to be the head coach of that team. You will have the most ridiculous expectations thrust upon you when you take that job, and every guy will be totally knowing what he's going into when they get that gig. Because I wouldn't even be surprised if the coach they hire gets fired next year if they don't do good enough in Foley's mind. Nothing is ever good enough there. We went over that with all the trades and the hockey karma, and now for DeBoer to get let go. I mean, Vegas fans didn't like DeBoer by the end of the year. It's like, I look at it like Stone's injured, Eichel's injured. It's just everything. Nothing went right. I don't know how you fire a coach. This isn't as crazy as Trotz getting fired, but it's right up there. And who knows? Maybe Trotz is the coach of Vegas next year.
These bros ain't broil.
Broil.
These bros ain't broil. I have nothing to say other than, like, they're cutthroat. And RA, I completely agree with you. It creates such, like, an unsettling feeling in the culture of the locker room. The only, like, you mentioned Trotz, like, obviously if you hire a guy like that, I'm sure, like, within, a couple months, he's going to be able to ring them in and reestablish that culture. But even from the player standpoint, like, we know, like, if it could be any guy out the door next, and it doesn't even have to be at the fact that you're underperforming. Like, that's not even I guess we just saw that with the coach. I mean, they got hosed with that San Jose situation a few years ago with the 5-minute major. He was around for that, which is a fucking kick in the dick. As far as this year, man, they just dealt with a shit ton of injuries. They had no Stone for a big part of the year. Eichel was playing with a broken thumb and then coming back from a neck injury. Like, so.
And mind you, they gas Gallant. Look what he's doing now.
Exactly. So it's just like, hey, you want to be that type of organization? Be that type of organization. But these bros ain't broil.
They also gave away Marc-Andre Fleury for nothing. That
Yeah.
didn't help when they needed.
I mean, we could beat
stretch.
this dead horse. Like they're just like you know what it is? It's like they're living up to the name. It's just like, renting hookers and doing blow, and it's just like that
Then
Vegas
Vegas.
style. It's Vegas.
No judgment.
Dude,
Gee, did you have
Going
something
down
for
to the
us, G?
champagne bar and getting a hook
Detroit
daddy to
boys.
come up and just abuse her, and then freaking wait, what?
I was going to say, you're definitely right, RA, where I think players are getting skeptical. I actually spoke with an NHL agent this past week who told me his clients are actually telling him, no Vegas. They're not good to their players there. I don't want to go there. Don't even put them on the list for me this summer. So it is interesting, and you're definitely onto something there, RA.
And that's a team with no state tax saying that. That's fucking crazy.
Crazy.
And rocket bottle service girls everywhere.
These bros ain't broil.
Killing the franchise stability. I mean, obviously names that are going to pop up. Trotz, Rick Tocchet, he lives in Vegas already, right, Biz? Well, I'm not.
This could be
Yeah,
the
he's-
assistant.
Jimmy Scoops over here. I don't know. I don't know if he's talked to Vegas yet. I would imagine Talk such a big name on the free agency coach market that he probably gets a meeting with most of the teams that need a coaching replacement. So and he lives there. So at least they don't have to pay for the flight. So I'm sure that's going to really appease them.
And we just mentioned Trotz. Elliot Friedman tweeted that Barry Trotz interviewed for the vacant head coach position in Winnipeg. Of course, he's from just outside Winnipeg, so that probably
Probably
be a
can
good fit
interview
for
with
him.
every team that needs a head coach.
Yeah, there's a little
If
bit
he
of a
wants.
what's the carousel going on this year.
I'll say this: the days of paying coaches $5 million a year, I think, are completely over. The way that they fucking turn them over and they recycle
I
them.
don't know though. To get the coach you want, he's gonna. It's like once that's been set in free agency with players, it's been set with coaches. Like you want a coach, he's a big name. All right, give me this, or I'm not coming. I think.
Yeah, well, I
that's-
mean, look at the coaches who signed the last big deals. Okay, go over them. Quinville gone. Babcock gone. Who was the guy in Philly?
yeah, but Quinville and
Big Yo,
Babcock wouldn't
gone.
be gone if it weren't for off ice shit.
Whatever, buddy. What the fuck does it matter? What does it matter? Like, I just think it's ridiculous to pay a fucking head. Like, look, like it, buddy. It's the players on the ice. These fucking people think that it's just like, oh, this like these coaches have these magic fucking
Yeah,
potions.
it's not like
just
football.
like it's
I
not
agree.
football. You fucking throw the guys over the boards. It's the same type of. There's like three different.
And you
types of-
switch up the lines if nobody's
Dude,
scoring.
You switch up the lines. There's three different forechecks. There's a couple different types of power play breakouts. Like people think I'm fucking crazy. Like you don't think I could fucking figure out how to fucking coach? I know the
Oh,
fucking
buddy, you could
systems.
win a Jack Adams in 2 years.
That's what I'm saying, bitch. That's what I'm saying. Look what I've done with
Get RA on your staff.
That's what I'm saying, buddy. He can get the
Imagine
party
RA
fish.
running the power play.
At least I'm
sorry, wrong video, guys.
He's
Hey,
doing the
wrong
power
video.
play videos, and
Hey.
guys are like, "What the fuck?" All of a sudden, there's like a Stanley Kubrick film in the background.
The Shining. What else here? The Islanders named Lane Lambert head coach. He was an associate for the last 4 years. Of course, him and Barry Trotz go way back. So they just kept the same guy they had on staff already. I'm sure Lou probably knew he was going to do that. But either way, that's the new coach, Lane Lambert.
That
of the
tells you
Islanders.
everything you need to know about what I just said. The guy who was underneath the guy who got canned is the guy who got the job. Yeah, I get it's a different voice. What the fuck does he know that fucking Trotz doesn't know? Like, give me a fucking break. This fucking league, man. Fucking give him fucking 10 million. And hey, I'm not ripping on this guy either. I just think it's a fucking clown show with all these fucking coaching changes and how much they're overpaying him. It's like these bros ain't bro. How many coaches lost their jobs? 9?
I don't know how many. I'm not sure off the top.
Well,
of my head.
maybe
I
look
know
it up
2 in
next
the
time.
last week. I'll blow the show here. A few more here for you. Craig Morton tweeted that the Wizard Ray Whitney is interviewing for the San Jose general manager job. today.
shit!
Good for
The
him,
Wizard.
man.
Wow.
Oh, he follows the league, buddy. He's a talented guy. He really hard worker. Like he's the guy who gets up in the morning and like hits the gym and shit. Like he's
Even
quick.
still now,
He's sharp as a whip, man. Is that how you say it? Or sharp as a what?
sharp as a
That was
knife.
attack.
Sharp as a tack. And also like he's got all these guys like who he texts with that, if he needs to know about players or if he needs to know about this, he needs to know about that. Like he just has such a good, he has so many resources that he can rely on. I hope he gets a fucking GM job, but then that means he won't come on the podcast, which sucks.
Biz, right now there's 4 current job openings. It's Detroit Red Wings, Philadelphia Flyers, Vegas Golden Knights, Winnipeg Jets. All the teams that fired their coaches this year are those four: the Islanders, Blackhawks, Oilers, Florida Panthers, and Montreal Canadiens as well.
So that's 9. Ooh, look at me.
Let's see. To the surprise of nobody, really, Sheldon Keefe and Kyle Dubas will be back with the Leafs next season. Getting rid of one of both really would have been throwing out the baby with the bathwater. And I think it was just a good idea, Biz, for the team to come out and say, look, no, they're not, no one's going anywhere. That way they're like, Steve Simmons won't fucking write a story that Jack Campbell was in an alley with the cat eating poutine and fucking wanted to fire Shandy or whatever fucking type of stuff he makes up. So, yeah.
Even
like,
Matt Sundin said he doesn't think they should make any moves.
I was just pulling up the quote.
You know what, though? I actually tweeted out if they got rid of Dubas or Keefe that they're idiots. And I believe that. And I think this is the right move. I couldn't believe the amount of Leafs fans coming at me. Same shit every year. How are you fucking falling for this, Whitney, you idiot? Like, I would say most Leafs fans are in disagreement with that, or at least the vocal ones online. They're fucking pissed off.
No, I love how they're being. I mean, we just ragged on Vegas for not being loyal, where it's like, I get that.
Okay, if next year they lose first round, that's
100%. See you later. I don't care what excuse. They could play the fucking, they could be playing I don't know, someone who's really good, like Tampa again. I wouldn't trade the core of Toronto Maple Leafs for any other core around the league. That might be a little bit insane. They're going to have chances to win a championship. I'm very, very optimistic about what management of the Leafs has done to build this young core group of players. It's coming. I agree with the man, and I think that you give them one more year of experience, and you just make some subtle changes. Hopefully you got a few young bucks in the pipeline who can add some help. I think the biggest thing that let them down was not having, and I think a lot of people have chimed in online about this, you need a guy in the top 6 who's a prick to play against. You need a Tom Wilson type of guy. I know the Simmons plan and the Clifford plan, they had the toughness, but like those guys are playing limited minutes, and also weren't even end up playing by the end of playoffs. You need a guy who's going to be able to throw the weight around, who can be an impact and play the 15 to 20 minute range, night in and night out, around the net, and just muck it up. So that's all I got to say.
Can you believe, though, that next year and then the next year and then Matthews is gonzo? 2 more fucking years you have with him. And don't think for a second he's re-signing in Toronto. UFA in 2 years, Matthews is gonzo.
I think they'll keep him if he gets the bag.
I don't know, man. That guy UFA, he could make the biggest contract in the history of the league. He can go wherever he wants. The pressure, I don't know, dude.
He'll be playing in Arizona with Bedard.
If they win a cup, he probably leaves because he has the cup. And then if they don't, he probably leaves because it's so miserable because they're all over him. 2 more years. The Toronto Maple Leafs have Austin Matthews.
Well, let's hope we get our land deals locked in Tempe. Well,
speaking of that.
Well, hey, we got to mention the fact that Mitch Marner got carjacked.
Yeah, that's fucking up. Really scary and an awful story. Scum of the earth doing something like that. Thank God the kid's okay. Fucking Christ, what a scary story. It was at gunpoint, right?
Yeah, a lot more violence and crime going on in Toronto, guys. It's fucking brutal. It's brutal. So good thing that he's okay. So I guess he was just like, yep, here you go. Here, you want me to put the seat warmers on for you?
Not trying to be a hero because I've never been carjacked, knock on wood. Thank God he's okay. But for anyone out there, if anyone ever comes up to you, give them everything. Yeah. Don't be a hero. Give them everything.
Or you could just be like, call an ambulance, but not for me. Reverse. Reverse.
I actually said to my buddies, I go, I would have been the guy who gets shot trying to beg him to let me take my golf clubs out of the trunk before they took my Escalade. So thank God Mitch Marner's okay.
Yes,
Scum of the earth. But back to the Coyotes. These fucking scrubs aren't even going to have the logo of their team in the ice next year. Oh my God. We're going to be watching NHL games with the Arizona State Sun Devil in the middle of the ice. What the fuck? Can it get any worse?
That turned out not to be 100% accurate. That was the story going around.
Suck on that, bitch.
No. Yeah, Twitter was a buzz. It was reported the NHL's ne'er-do-well bastard son, the Arizona Coyotes, will not be allowed to have a center ice logo at Arizona State next season. Everyone was making fun of him, but Craig Morton, who's been covering this team, does a great job on it. He said he clarified both teams' identities will be reflected somewhere on the ice. However, the Coyotes cannot alter anything that Arizona State puts on the ice. So Arizona State could let them put it on the ice. It's not that they're not going to allow it. So I think someone, misconstrued the news, whatever. So it's not like they can't put it there, but Arizona State has the final say as to what goes on the actual ice. But what is funny?
So you think Arizona State's going to agree to have a big Coyotes emblem in the middle of the arena?
I don't know. This is we're in uncharted
unless
territory.
They offer them a ton of dough for
Folks,
it. I would
you know
be
what?
very surprised.
You know what? I don't care because I think one of the themes to the.
Don't.
Can you please not interrupt me when I'm going in?
We know you don't care.
One of the themes to this podcast has been about loyalty, and it doesn't matter what you tell me about Coyotes news. I will be with that organization to the day I die because
or to the day they leave.
Fuck you.
Welcome to Houston, Paul. Anyways, the team also had to sign a good behavior clause, which sounded rather unusual, but I guess it's a pretty common thing that Arizona State does as far as, the team.
Yeah, you can't be banging girls in the Pink Whitney suite in the middle of the game, Clayton Keller. Like, fuck,
Says
keep
who?
it together.
That's
was
not
more
in the
about paying
clause.
their bills,
That's not in the
okay.
clause. I looked over the clause. That's not in the clause. We got a Murphy bed. We got the Super Soaker coming in for half the games.
Magic Johnson style.
Just wrap it. Per Penguins reporter Rob Rossi, the Penguins offered defenseman Chris Letang and forward Evgeny Malkin 3-year deals worth $15 million, and Sid supposedly was not very happy about it. Malkin has come. Well, he's in the last year of his 8-year, $76 million deal, $9.5 million a year. Letang was making $7.25. I mean, that would be a significant pay cut for Gino. He's going to be 36 in July. He said he thinks he could play another 3 to 4 years. Letang said he could play 4 to 5 years easily, and Sid also said he wants to play at least 3 more seasons. So, I mean, that's a low ball offer with, huh?
Yeah, that's tough. But you know what? All you Penguins fans, welcome to the world of that loser John Henry and Fenway Sports Group. These clowns, put it this way, the Boston Red Sox couldn't win a World Series for 86 years. They now have 4 in the past 16 years. They have 4 World Series, and people still hate the owners. So Liverpool soccer, they own Liverpool. They actually have the chance to have one of the greatest seasons in English soccer history. But they're cheap. And you look at what they're doing with Bogarts, and you look at what they're doing with Devers and the Red Sox, and they're cheap. They're cheap. And so I don't know if they're going to end up going up. I don't know how it's going to work out with Brian Burke and Ron Hextall dealing with creepy John Henry and Fenway Sports Group. But in the end, they might look at these guys as depreciating assets. And as they get older, we're not offering them any more money. And I don't know what's going to go on. But if both of them hit the open market, they'll certainly both be making more than $5 million a year.
Oh, I mean, Letang still got a lot of game left.
Yeah.
Gino, 5-on-5 and how he goes hot and cold, but it's hard to judge because he just came off that knee injury.
I know when he has
season.
a whole summer, it might be different.
That's what I'm saying. So I think that if you can get him locked in at I think Gino 3 times 7 is a fair offer.
Yeah. That's hope. That would be him taking a hometown discount.
Yes.
Just because, and people may argue that, but his past and his resume, and he was a point per game this year. He could get more, but that would be fair. I think if he took that, he'd want to stay a Penguin and also be getting good dough. And Letang, that's a tough one. I don't know, because how many years does he want? That's the issue. Does Letang want 7-year deal?
I would give Letang 4 years at 7.
Yeah, see, I think he might want more than that. But if he wants to be a Penguin, maybe not.
Then he ain't taking a hometown discount. Yeah. It's like go play on the open market somewhere. But I mean, given a defenseman that old, more than a 4-year deal at how much? You're saying $8 million? It's just I don't know. You think he's? I guess I could say okay, $8 million's a fair number, but I don't think they can afford to pay him because the way I look
35, he's coming off 68 points in 78 games. Yeah, I mean he ain't gonna get an 8-year deal.
So
what if Montreal offered him? Hometown, that's his hometown. They're gonna have some money.
Say Montreal hometown. It's it's up to these guys if they want to be on a fucking awful hockey team.
He's won his cups. He's won before. He's won his cup. So it's let's go get that bag. Go get the money.
I know, but he has the bag too. So why wouldn't you want to win again? I don't know.
I think that they're gonna find a way to make it work. Is what I think about it all. and I think that we're all just speculating here, and we can end this
It's
podcast.
2:15 in the morning. Let's shut her down, boys.
Well, we got two more. We got at least.
Oh, okay.
Selke Trophy finalists were announced.
to
Florida's
Bergeron.
Alexander Barkov, Calgary's Elias Lindholm, and for a record 11th consecutive season, Boston Bruin Patrice Bergeron, a four-time winner. Bergie passed Gretzky's record for consecutive years as an award finalist. Gretzky had 10 straight years as a Hart nominee. Like I just said, Bergie's got 11 as the Selke nominee. This year, he led in face-off wins, face-off winner percentage. Barkov is looking to become the first back-to-back winner since Bergeron back in 14-15. Lindholm is a first-time finalist and would be the first Flame to win if he managed to pull it off. And I know we've talked about it before, but I looked up the Lester Pearson. They changed that to the Ted Lindsay. Why wouldn't they change the Selke to the Bergeron after he retires? Because no disrespect to Frank Selke, but he didn't play. He was a GM, not a player. He has no real connection to like defensive forwards. Like, I don't know. I usually don't think you should rename
All
things
right,
after
that's the
people,
smartest thing you've ever said on the podcast.
I'll take it, but I thought it had better than that. But either way, Bruce Cassidy said Bergeron Selke bid this is a great quote. Every year the nerds come up with new stats and he excels in those too. So Cassidy taking a shot at the stat geeks. Our buddy Hazy is up for the Masterton this year, along with Zdeno Chara and Carey Price. It goes to the player who best exemplifies the qualities of perseverance, sportsmanship, and dedication to hockey. So obviously we're pulling for Hazy. What do you got, G?
I was going to say a little shocked to see David Pastrnak was not nominated for that after everything he dealt with the loss of his unborn son at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, good point, G.
It's just so hard because I feel like I mean you can't, like, everybody's has dealt with something. Would you replace with Chara? Was Chara one of the nominees?
Yes.
Yeah, I would replace Chara, but he wasn't even the Bruins nominee. I believe Jake DeBrusk was. So I was just from start to finish.
Oh,
I was
wow.
just
Well,
kind
he
of
requested
shocked
a
to see
trade
that.
and he didn't get traded, so that's tough.
Also, too, Bergeron confirmed the obvious that he either returns to the Bruins or retires. I can't believe people thought he was going to go to Montreal. He wasn't even a Canadians fan growing up, for Christ's sake.
We're the rumor boys. Who cares?
Well, we didn't start that one. Lady Bing finalist, Winnipeg's Kyle Connor, Carolina's Jacob Slavin, and Minnesota's Jared Spurgeon. And that's it for our hockey notes, boys. Anything else you want to get at?
No, bedtime.
No golf time. All right,
I
bedtime.
think my neighbor here
Very
is
excited
about
to
ready
watch the
lose her
PGA
mind.
Championship. I think I might have told everyone Scheffler was going to win the Masters. Maybe I'm making that up, but I think I said he was definitely a possible winner. I don't know, man. I'm looking at this tournament. I know everyone's talking about Spieth, but he can win the Grand Slam, and he's been playing great. And this course, you need to have a great short game. Fun fact, or actually not so fun fact, Southern Hills in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Tiger Woods won a PGA there. It was actually where RA Roger Wheeler was gunned down by John Mortorano in the Whitey Bulger murder for hire.
Yeah, that was the highlight guy.
The highlight. This is a crazy story, but a Boston mobster had the owner of the highlight sports killed, and it's crazy though. I didn't even know it was in this country club, but it should be a really fun tournament. I think Tigers paired the first two rounds starting this morning as you're listening with Rory and Spieth, I think, and then there's like a Dustin Johnson, Justin Thomas. What was the other one? I don't know. Another stud in that threesome. They have like some super pairings.
Wait, what did you think of the guys hanging, the foreplay guys hanging with Tiger Woods?
Crazy. They've become legit buddies. I think he said to Riggs, "What's up, my brother?" I mean, if you have a black guy say "What's up, my brother" to you, you're pretty fucking legit with the guy. I'll say no.
Are they going to get him on the podcast?
I think they already have.
Oh, really?
They did like a brief interview, him and Riggs, one time, but they've never done the full sit down.
Oh yeah, they got to do a full.
But they were walking around like the course with them. So yeah.
I mean, we got our goat. Guys. We got our white whale. They got to get their white whale.
Exactly.
There is one guy who's not going to be there this weekend, the defending champ. Is it a chicken shit move or what by Mickelson?
I have no idea what's going on with Phil. I hear that he's fucking hanging out with a big long beard somewhere.
Yeah. What's the place in Montana?
Oh,
Big
Yellowstone?
Sky?
Big Sky, Montana. Or somewhere
Big
in
Sky.
there.
Yeah, I mean, Phil is, it's quite obvious Phil has already taken an enormous sum of money from the Saudis for this live golf, which starts pretty soon. I'm guessing that'll be the first time he shows his face. I mean, it's interesting that he's not going to the PGA and maybe talking, and because he's going to have to face questions. He's going to get hammered the first time he comes back into existence. Maybe he's going to make guys come to London for this first live golf event, the Saudi-based tournament, and he's going to make them grill him there with questions where actually there'll be Saudis in attendance. I have no idea, but it's going to be a crazy summer in professional golf because this new league is going to be starting. And my theory is you're not going to have a ton of guys leaving right away, but you're going to have some older guys, Lee Westwood, Sergio Garcia, Henrik Stenson, maybe, and these guys. And all of a sudden, when sixth place starts getting $2 million checks, you might see some other guys like, whoa, what's going on over here? I can win this tournament and make like $5 million. I mean, they have crazy purses they're talking about, bigger than any purses on the PGA Tour. And once these money starts clearing and this checks start cashing, you might see some guys saying, listen, I got to take care of my family. So I don't know how it's all going to go down, but basically the entire world of pro golf is on the cusp of changing. I think it could, at least. So if this were to happen in hockey, it'd be the craziest news we could ever talk about on this podcast. So this summer should be wild in the world of golf, but I'm looking forward to a good PGA championship week. And I'm looking to qualify pretty low on Saturday for the Wally Cup with me and Fairway Falls. So I love you guys. I love the fans. Talk to you guys on Monday morning.
Love you, boys.
Peace.
Take care. Have a good week, all.